All right, welcome to the Yellow Brick Road. Welcome to Yellow Brick Road. I am Jordan. No editing here. I am Jordan, and we're gonna do like a little free for all video here, just willy nilly reacting to Alex Jones versus Nick Fuentes having a quote unquote debate about Trump. Basically having National Guard troops on the ground to deal with crime, the very thing that Alex Jones claimed to be fighting against. He is now supporting, and I assume that Nick is going to take the opposite position. But before I get started, please check out the description box. There will be donation links for charities, not for me, except for the very bottom of the fucking description box. That's my thing for me. The rest is all helping other people out, not me. Just so you know. Also, I will link the video so that if you hear us talking too much and you don't like it, go watch the original source. I will source it to you. As you can see on the screen right there, you can see a timestamp. You see 10 minutes and 6 seconds. That's where we're starting with this video. It will be linked for you. Also, check out, if you want to join a Discord where you can believe anything you want to believe. Say your opinions. No one gets banned for your fucking opinions. Period. Any opinion. Seriously. But do not come in here spamming dick pics, and this might actually invite that shit by accident, wouldn't it? Fuck. Please don't spam dick pics and grotesque violence and shit like that, bro. Just keep it to your opinion or funny things you think are funny other than dick pics. Keep it in that area, All is welcome. And don't worry, if you do spam dick pics and and you get banned for that, don't worry. I'll DM you a place where you can go. That sounds really bad. That sounds really bad, actually. All right, if you're just a troll that wants to spam shit, there is a Discord where I allow trolls to be running around, roaming crazy and free. So I'll let you know. But all right. Without further ado, let's get into this video. I did a video of Alex's opinion on this. It's horrendous. It sounds like a fucking people are calling Nick a Fed. I don't know about that, but Alex Jones, this fool looks full-blown compromised. And I can't say for what reason, but he looks compromised by his opinions and the consistent dick gobbling of Donald Trump. It's next level. No matter what happens, Alex Jones will have an excuse for it. He will support it in some form or fashion, or he will excuse it, right? Obviously, right? Oh, Epstein is a secret plan to trick the deep state into bending to Trump's will so they can make the world a better place. And Infowars.com/blue methylene. Anyways, all right. Without further ado, here we go. Alex Jones, Nick Fuentes, the debate on troops on the ground. Here we go.
I wanted to get Nick on, and I asked him
Get
to
some
come on
volume
last
here.
week,
It's a little low.
this week, to discuss the whole waterfront and where the world's going, and
Oh, dude,
also Netanyahu's trying to drag us into war with Iran again, and all the rest of it. And I wanted to debate him on the border and enforcement, because I think Trump overall is doing the best job with the tools they have, and they're gearing up. It'll be a friendly debate.
All right, by the way, I just want to say, I don't know how long I'm going to make it, so the video will be linked in the description box. So if I don't make it all the way through because it gets stupid, you know why. Here we go.
But since then, he's come out and said, he thinks, that Trump wants this as a police state, so for Israel or something. And Israel is involved with anti-free speech laws and training police and things. So that's actually a real fear, I believe. But I don't see that as why Trump's doing this. We'll debate that. And that's a real issue I disagree with Nick on. And I'm going to let him put out his view on it. I don't want to misrepresent it. But as I just said in the intro, I don't think I've ever seen buzz this big. On the topic. I mean, every time I go out in public and walk around at least 10, 15 people, if I see the guy comes to clean the pool or something, he doesn't bring it up. But I mean, if I get around a gas station, a grocery store,
pool cleaners,
anywhere, multiple people bring up Nick Fuentes and this big battle, and everybody thinks he's being ganged up on, and he's a really smart guy, and wow, they heard he was a bad guy, but now they love his show, and the show's been big forever. He's been around 8 years or so, 9 years, but it's exploded. And I know when something explodes
Nick
like
was
that,
like an
I called him
Addams
a week and a half
Family
ago, and I
kid.
said, you better get ready for the big attacks. And look, I'm not fighting with Tucker or Candace or Elon Musk. I love all those people, and
Like
I think they have their own perspectives and their own issues. And I defended Tucker because he confided in me 2 weeks after his dad died when I was up there with him for a few days at dinner and lunch. That wow, I knew he worked with the CIA because USA did and Voice of America and all that, but I didn't know he was high level, and he was high level. I said, Tucker, come on, that's so. I don't think Tucker's lying about that. So I've said my little intro, but just in general, I have been extremely famous for 15 years. I mean, really famous for 25, 30. So I know what it's like. I know what happens. I know how people get jealous. They come after you, or they think you're a bad guy. A lot of stuff happens. And, Nick's 26.
Yeah, Alex, you're full of shit, man.
Active, for politics for at least 10 years or so. So he's a big guy. But at the same time, it's this phenomenon that goes on that is a zeitgeist. And when you become the symbol of a zeitgeist, as I have been and as Trump has been and only a few others, and Tucker is kind of the voice of the populist conservative movement, he's an icon. When you get to that level, just a lot of things happen that are good and or bad. But bigger than Nick Fuentes is the issue of the symbol he's become, and the fact that that's a bellwether or a canary in the coal mine that the Great Awakening's been accelerating for at least 10 years, but it's exploding now, and there is a total break with the system and anything seen as establishment. And so is it healthy to have all this fighting and all these people going after each other? Well, at the end of the day, it is healthy to have a debate about the populist movement and the Republican Party and our ongoing, somewhat successful takeover of that. And so overall, this is very positive what's happening, and really the end of political correctness. People not just minding being unpolitically correct, but actually reveling in it, understanding that we've been bullied and intimidated, and that's a very healthy thing. But then out of that, you can swing too far to the other side, which I believe is a danger as well. So we are in a time of momentous change. You have a lot of people, the Democratic Party is certainly still in their bubble, but a lot of Republicans that really aren't even neocons, but rub shoulders with both sides of the populist and neocon movement that, like Charlie Kirk, that now are sounding now more like Fuentes, and then just like Fuentes at Turning Point and all these other groups 8-9 years ago, they saw he was a smart guy, charismatic, even when he was 18 years old, bring him in, hire him, and then try to send him to Israel and brainwash him and make him do that. That made him go the other direction. They kind of, I would say, accelerated him becoming what he is today. And it's the same thing when now Charlie Kirk is like, I have the Jewish lobby, the Israel lobby, calling up and threatening me, and I've been your greatest ally. How dare you? And that's how this process begins. And then you've got, Flynn, who's like, hey, I'm a big fan of Israel, helped him, worked with him, on and on, but they stood down on October 7th. They're trying to drag us into war. They are manipulating the White House, and they're a danger. So I've got to come out against what's happening in Israel. You have to, okay? There's no other way. But then
Mr. Trump,
I don't want to be associated, not because I get attacked or because the ADL be mean to me, they already are, with the people that take it to the total cuckoo land and, say evil only exists because of these interests when there's other fish to fry and other issues as well. Though Israel, through Netanyahu and others, is trying a full takeover in this power vacuum of the White House. So now I've gone great guns and said, now this is the big central attack because it is true what people were saying in the past. It was partially true before. Now it really is. And so we have to just be honest about that. But that's not because I didn't hold back because I didn't want to be attacked. I was being attacked even more because I was attacking the policies of the globalists, which Israel supports, and others, and the Chi-Coms all are in alignment. And so I was getting a big tent and mainlining this. That was what I was doing, but that was good in the past and helped build all of this. Now it's all out in the open. Now we move into the out in the open mask-off battle. So that's a long 15-minute rant intro. I'm going to give Nick Fuentes the floor here for...
Okay, before he does that, now people get mad at me for pausing. Like, did you just hear that whole speech there? Everything you just said right there. in the way he said it, and the excuse making, or even the self praise that's in the midst of what he was saying there. And people get mad at me for pausing, but like, look at what he's fucking saying. I should have paused it after every fucking sentence he said. I should have paused it and said, like, wrong. Here's why you're wrong. I'm wrecked, dude. Like, we are an ass backwards world. Just being honest with you guys. If you don't see that yet, I don't know what to fucking tell you, man. That's an existential thing. You have to like figure shit out on your own. Then you'll like see what I think you'll see what's going on here. Ass backwards land. Yes, the Israel thing with the Israel lobby and all that shit has been a problem for a long time. The people who were pointing that out got shit on, and you'll never hear of them. Don't worry about that. You'll never hear their names. You don't know who they are. They'll get shit on. In fact, I remember Al Jazeera, which is still like a famous publication, right? Did a story about the Israeli lobby, right? I think it was like a 4-part series, I think, right? But then they also did a story about steroids in sports. And they said something about Peyton Manning, and he was getting these like random drugs delivered to his house under his wife's name. You know what happened? Americans call it, well, they're terrorists anyways. It's a terrorist organization anyways. I kid you not. I kid you not. And Alex is out here pretending like come on, man. I mean, a global awakening of what? I'm seeing the same phenomenon in a different way that we've already seen before. Sorry. It is what it is. A bunch of people bought into Obama, right? I remember the celebrations when Obama won. I remember that shit. Was I a part of it? No. But I did witness it. I did see people like, yeah, the world's going to change now. And I watched them go to sleep in their own form and fashion, right? In their own way. They fell asleep. Then I saw Trump come into office, where people are like, yeah, finally things are going to change. Hillary's going to get locked up any day now. I remember that shit. I watched them. I didn't join in on it. I watched it happen. Then I watched them fall asleep. And now we're in this spot where it's like, well, we got tricked. And once I will say these words again, I'll try to like overemphasize this thing again. Are you being fooled, or are you fooling yourself? Is it something someone's doing to you, or are you doing something to yourself that's wrecking yourself? Take some fucking responsibility, please. Because otherwise, nothing changes ever. It requires individuals being individuals, not group moldy masses forming together to do nothing. And like by that standard, that's what I watch for from these guys. Are they telling you to fall back asleep and join the mold, like Alex Jones does? Or are they saying, like, hey, man, listen, admit you got tricked. Never get tricked again. That's all you got to do. Admit you got tricked. Study yourself getting tricked. Never allow those things to happen ever again. I don't even know who's saying shit like that right now, to be honest with you. I see a bunch of people rising up saying they have the answers for everything. And usually, seemingly, it comes in the form of, well, it's Israel. Or, Israel's blackmailing someone. Or, the deep state. Or, his advisors suck. Or some shit like that. Some excuse to save the orange penguin so that they can save themselves. They can save their own credibility. And it's like, are you guys egos that fucking fragile? Holy fucking shit. I thought you guys are all like criticizing the SJW guys, right? I'm sorry, Alex had his time. I'm saying my time now. Sorry. I thought you guys were crying about the fragile egos of fucking blue-haired college kids. But in reality, these guys are fucking fragile. Anyways, let's keep it moving. Here we go. Shut up! Yo, who is this guy? Shut him up! Alex was talking. Let's get back to Alex and Nick, the voices of our times. The shit that we think is advanced, but it's actually like old and moldy. They don't realize how simple these ideas actually are. They don't realize it. And thus, I shake hands with my boy Jesus, and he says, they don't know what they're doing. And I say, yeah, it looks like that. Let's keep it moving.
At least 15 minutes, and we'll start the debate portion after that, and I appreciate him being here tonight. And I know he's got his own stream coming up this evening as well, at like 9 or 10 o'clock at night. He does it different times.
Shot down
to
Iraq.
Go wherever you want, but I'd like you to also spend some time addressing the attacks that have really, I mean, I'm not even looking for it, and it's everywhere. Phone calls, in my email, text messages. I go to X trying to look up Peace Summit stuff, and it's all, I mean, you just see everybody jumping on, piling on.
Whoa. Sorry, let me read this. Remember when Nick had his money frozen by DOJ? Ask him how he got them to unfreeze it. Answer, informing. He calls him an informant. Then ask when it was unfrozen. What? Ask him how he got them to unfreeze it. Then ask him when it was unfrozen. Ask for proof. He was lying to fans every day, taking cash off teens, claiming his account was frozen 6 months after he got it back. Oh, okay, they're saying he was taking money. Or he was claiming that his bank account was frozen, but it actually wasn't, and okay, got it. And then Elon Musk says, doesn't make sense that the FBI leaves Fuentes alone unless he is an asset of some kind. Okay. Well, I look at Milo as full of shit, and I look at Elon Musk as full of shit. Now, I leave room for Nick Fuentes being full of shit. I leave room for that, because anyone could be up to any, like, we don't know, right? So we have to leave room for possibilities. But Milo and Elon, I feel more guaranteed that they're full of shit than even Nick Fuentes. So I'm like on the fence with it. I don't know. And no, these attacks don't make me think that Nick is now legit now, by the way. That'd be a misnomer. Remember the Trump thing I just said? Of like, don't fall for this shit again? Or because CNN shits on Trump, that means that means that Trump is good because CNN sucks? Don't go by that logic. I beg you not to. So I'm not going to do it myself. But these are two nefarious characters, in my humble opinion. So was Alex to me, by the way. Nick, probably a little less so. Although I think he's a dumb fuck on certain ideas. But he seems less nefarious to me, at least than these two. And Alex. But, all right, here we go.
To get Nick
Fuentes.
I know,
shut up, Jordan. I don't hear about Alex
a lot
Jones
of that is just,
Nick.
Again, the dogpiling thing, kind of a mass formation,
sorry, not
mob
sorry.
psychology. And then I sit back and I go, if they're jealous or don't like you or think you're really the devil or a secret fed, that's the last thing you do, creating a mass Streisand effect. So the rocket your ass was strapped to 2 weeks ago now just is going 10 times faster. And so that is an amazing place to be. So that's just my Gestalt stream of consciousness rant. Nick J. Fuentes
do that
on
all the time, Alex.
Rumble. Find you on X as well. Thank you for being here. You've got the floor.
Yes, well, thank you for having me. It has been certainly a strange couple of weeks with everything that's gone on. And, I've seen people characterize it on Twitter, the sort of feud that's been going on with Candace, with Tucker, with Elon, with all these different figures. And I don't know that you would characterize it this way, but I've seen other people say this. They say it's infighting. And I don't really like that term because I don't think it does justice to what actually took place, which is that you and I were both really on top of this back in June. There was a war in Iran. It really all goes back to this, at least for me. And I think, you asked me to kind of take the 20,000 foot view, the 30,000 foot view. To me,
what the fuck? I did not see it. Candace Owens calls screeching Nick Fuentes the Israel of the right. Like, what the fuck does that mean? What the fuck? What the fuck? They've gone to listen, I know you guys have just newly adopted that Israel does bad things in the world. I know the Israeli government, that is, I know you guys have newly adopted that. Now you're using it as a coin phrase, like, you're the Israel of the right. Like, what the fuck does that mean? The fuck? Sorry, that's just a weird statement. Just caught my attention, sorry. Here's more of Loverboy Nick. Here we go.
Asked me to kind of take the 20,000-foot view, the 30,000-foot view. To me, the 30,000-foot view has so much to do with the populist movement, with Trump, and with the situation in Iran as it has unfolded over the past few years. So going back to June, you and I were on this. I was doing these big streams covering the war. I did your show. You were doing huge streams covering the war in Iran. It was blowing up. I do this show with Candace Owens, who I've had a little drama with her in the past. I've also helped her in the past. So we've had kind of a relationship which has been characterized by sometimes friendliness, but sometimes negativity. And without relitigating the entire drama, we do a interview in the middle of the war, and we don't talk about the war at all. We don't talk about Trump. We don't talk about, our cancellation, the Daily Wire, any of these things. She's pressing me about drama, things like this. Now, some people thought it was an interesting interview. A lot of people are disappointed in what we talked about, or maybe what we did not talk about. Needless to say, there was this big reaction to how she handled it, and that it was behind a paywall, all these things. Then she goes on Tucker, and Tucker Carlson calls me a Fed. I do this big reaction stream to that. Clearly, that accusation backfires. Now, I don't know Tucker. I've never met him. I've never talked to him. But he seems to, without watching my show or knowing me, he seems to think that he knows exactly what I'm about, and made a very serious accusation. Not only did he say that I'm an asset of the left or of the federal government,
but you're also gay.
He says, but I'm this weird gay kid in my basement from Chicago, and who is this guy, and all this stuff. This backfires. And then a week later, I get Elon Musk replying to Milo, accusing me of being a Fed. And you take this whole thing together, and I wouldn't characterize that as infighting. I would say what that looks like to me is a coordinated attack. I think it stinks. I think it reeks of coordination, because it's the same types of accusations coming from people that are all connected to each other. Elon replied to Milo. Milo did a show with Candace the week before. Candace did the show with Tucker the week before that. And Candace and Tucker did a show right around the time that she quit Daily Wire. So it's like,
that looks weird, bro. Like, once again, I don't know what Nick's involved in or whatever. He could be a Fed for all I don't fucking know. I don't really throw that term around loosely like that. I have no idea, personally. But that is extremely weird. Every little connection that he just brought up right there, like, that does look fucking weird. I did see parts of Milo on Candace's show. Then the Tucker thing, where I'm like, these guys are just here to shit on this guy. In that portion, at least, right? When they're not talking about, Macron wife's penis or something. Or alleged penis. Yeah, when they were talking about Nick, it's like, man, the way these guys are doing it, like, it comes off as dishonest and full of shit. Then when I saw Milo and Candace, I'm like, that looks full of shit. Then I see Elon Musk, I'm like, well, that guy's just full of shit to me in general. It's like, huh. And yes, connected, like what Nick Fuentes is saying as far as, like, connected, yes, but not really. They're supposed to, like, stand out as individuals on their own, meaning, like, if an event happens, the perception from the audience is that, like, they're speaking on their own terms as individuals because they're such mavericks or some shit like that, right? That's, like, the perception of these guys. I think, like, at least in the mainstream, right? So, for me, I'm like, these are kind of disparate voices all of a sudden kind of echoing the same thing. Now, the reasons for that, I can't say I know. I don't know. But for someone to question that is very much necessary, I believe. That should be questioned. And once again, that's not taking Nick off the hook for any you know, questions about him. I'm just saying, like, that is a weird phenomenon to see these random names like all kind of coordinating seemingly in a kind of a relatively short period of time. But all right, let's keep it moving. Here we go.
All these people know each other. They're all connected and clearly talking in the same, 2 to 3 week period. They're all saying the same things.
2-3 weeks.
And so it stinks to me like this is kind of like an avalanche. It's almost like a backlash against my popularity. And for me, the big question is this. I think everybody's assumption based on what has taken place in the past year and a half, ever since the war in Gaza, obviously there's this mass awakening about Israel and the influence of Israel and how that is detrimental to the United States, that we're being drawn into this conflict. We're backing a genocide. It's $30 billion in aid. It's World War III.
I think he's wrong about this, but
these figures like Candace and Tucker in particular, they rise to the surface and are elevated, whereas Tucker was at Fox News and Candace was at Daily Wire. Suddenly, they are these major critics of Israel. They're major critics of what's going on. Now,
I mean, here's the thing. Like, I was saying that, but I got shit on when I said it because I don't have the audience that Nick has. But I was saying that, like, that is weird. Like, Candace, you're, like, new to this. I always bring up once you're trying to connect Israel to RFK assassinations and JFK assassinations, right? And she brings up fucking Lee Oswald Harvey. I'm like, excuse me? Like, that can't be like you mentally it doesn't sound right when you hear it, right? It's almost like she just learned about it like a day ago and fucked the name up like that badly. So yeah, that was kind of weird. And yes, there is a phenomenon now of, I'm not going to call it a mass awakening like Nick's calling it. Let's not call it that, because that is not what I'm saying. I'm saying a lot of blame Israel for a lot of things, and it's not, for me, not legit. And once again, in my opinion, if you erase Israel off the map, all of a sudden, the U.S. is still doing criminal, devil-worshipping shit all over the fucking Middle East, South America, Africa, Eastern Europe, in Europe itself, let's be honest, and domestically in the U.S., Mexico, Canada, they're still doing their criminal ass shit all over the fucking place. So to attribute that all to Israel is fucking batshit crazy to me. It really is. But yes, it does look like a fad that Candace adopted. Tucker, I'm less sure about. I don't see as much of his stuff. I've covered some of his videos, but it's more for the person he was interviewing than him. So, okay, maybe with him. Yeah, Nick has been complaining about, I guess, complaining about Israel in regards to our foreign policy for a while now, but let's be real. He started off as a baby in regards to it, in regards to the topic itself. And I think he actually drank the Kool-Aid and ran with it. Ran with Israel controlling our foreign policy. That's just, to me, bullshit. It really is bullshit. And part of my things I point out is Nick debating Ryan Dawson years ago. That's why I call him Sippy Cup Nick, because he had like a little sippy cup with him as he's debating and getting like wrecked, by the way. He's getting kind of destroyed in that discussion. But I'm sure he learned more from it, learned more about the topic. But his walkaway assessment, I think, that's where he gets it wrong, in my humble opinion. But, he could do factoids, just like Dave Smith can do factoids. I don't even know where I was going with that. I think it's just a full-blown ramble. But I think there's some jewels in there. Just trust me on that. All right, here we go. Here's more from Nick, I guess.
To the layperson, you would say, they're kind of meeting me where I was. I've been on this, as you know, for 10 years. I was known as the anti-Semite. I was known as the anti-Israel guy. Now, the layperson would say Candace and Tucker are kind of coming around. They woke up. They got red-pilled. They're on the right side now. They're pushing the truth. And that's why there's this strangeness that it reeks of coordination. It reeks of this coordinated attack. And from the least likely people. You would think the attack would come from the usual suspects like a Ben Shapiro, a Charlie Kirk, who I have feuded with
Very
over
wise.
the years, who are very pro-Israel, who are much closer to the establishment. That it would come from these relative outsiders that were jettisoned by Fox and Daily Wire in the past couple of years, that broke with that consensus view. For this coordinated attack to come from them is very suspicious. And I drew a lot of attention to that on my show, the suspicious nature of it, and said, maybe things are not as they seem. Now, as far as you're concerned, both Candace and Tucker. You had Candace on your show last week. I know you're good friends with Tucker. And, I saw what you said. I appreciated that you defended me from the accusation that I'm a Fed. But what I would say is this is sort of where I'm at psychologically. I don't know Tucker. I don't know Candace. I don't know her well. I've obviously met her and had my interactions with her recently. But I would say this. If they are good faith actors, if they're honest journalists, if they mean what they say and say what they mean, if they are who they say they are, maybe this is all just a big colossal misunderstanding. Maybe they legitimately have real concerns about me. Maybe it's not coordinated. And to that, I would say, why doesn't Tucker Carlson have me on his show? Better yet, why doesn't he talk to me on the phone privately? I don't need the clout at this point.
Well,
I mean,
the whole feud blew up. I'll shut up, but that's where I was going to go next. I can call Tucker and ask him, can you imagine if I hosted a debate even remotely and I'd be fair? That would be massive. Everybody wants that. I mean, I know Candace asked you for another debate.
Alex all but said, for money and audience, yeah, this would be a great idea. Brilliant, genius idea. Alex,
he was holding a money bag right there.
You can tell. Look at the way he reacted to that. He's like, that'd be fucking Jesus Christ. Can you imagine the paycheck after that? That'd be blue meth being sold everywhere around the country.
Look
at his fucking reaction.
I'll shut up, but that's where I was going to go next. I can call Tucker and ask him, can you imagine if I hosted a debate even remotely and I'd be fair? That would be massive. Everybody wants that. I mean, I know Candace asked you for another debate, and usually, the person that loses, and I would say she did, wants, another one. But you and Tucker, that would be the new debate. You would accept that if I hosted a debate with you and Tucker?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, look at that psycho.
Absolutely. And you could call it a debate, a discussion, whatever you want to do.
Psycho.
I would do a debate, absolutely, because, he made specific claims pertaining to Joe Kent. He said the reason that he's suspicious of me is because of my attacks on Joe Kent. And I've said this to you, and I've said it to Candace, and I've been saying it to anyone who will listen. In fairness, almost to the point of being a nuisance, I've told that story about Joe Kent for many years.
Even politicos, a lot of people don't really remember Joe Kent. Why don't you recap people that don't know then?
Sure. So Joe Kent ran for Congress in 2022, and he received some backing from Peter Thiel, and he had a mutual friend, Matt Brainerd. Matt Brainerd was his first hire on his campaign. He was a consultant. Brainerd was at AFPAC. He was at my convention. And long story short, Joe Kent attacked me in 2022. I initially supported him. I talked to him on the phone. We were going to send the Groypers out to Washington to help him. And out of a clear blue sky in 2022, he launches this attack on me and says that he condemns me because of my opposition to Israel and because I talk about race and religion. He said that my message does not fit with inclusive populism, which is...
Sorry, let me read his thing. It all started when Joe Kent attacked me publicly in defense of Israel, even after we had a private phone call, and I offered him my support, so he made sure everyone in his district knew about his service for the CIA, and he lost by 1% in the biggest upset in 2022. Okay.
His vision. Now, in response to his attack, I mobilized the Groypers to Washington, and the Groypers that were going to help him then were hurting him. And I said, we will not reward betrayal. We will not reward people that claim to be America first, but are really Israel first. We're going to make an example out of him. Now, Joe Kent lost. It was a major upset. That was rated as a safe Republican district, and he lost by like 1,000 votes. And so credibly, you could say that I caused him to lose. But I caused him to lose to make an example out of someone that says they're America first, but when the chips are down, they're really Israel first. Now, Tucker was good.
Someone, like, I'll remind you, Nick's never going to hear this, but I'm going to say it anyways like he's here. Yo, Nick. You can have a politician that says like, I will take no money from APAC. I don't like what Israel's doing. Like they can do all that shit. But if they play your other views about race, intermarriage, in regards to like interracial marriage, or what you say about other races, it will never fly on the mainstream of politics. It's just not. It's never gonna fly, dude. You had a chance in like 1920 or something, but right now, nah, man, nah. Like, like half your style is like black culture, Nick Fuentes. I'm sorry to tell you, dude. Half your shit is like black culture. Like it's not gonna fly anywhere. Thus, if you have a mainstream politician, like there's no chance they're going to, like, yeah. And I'm endorsed by Nick Fuentes. That'd be like a negative for them. Their opponent would run ads like, yeah, this guy has this guy supporting him. I thought Nick was realistic about that. Like, I thought he realized that. He can scream it's about Israel all he wants, but in reality, it's the other stuff, dude. It really is. And if he's not aware of that, like he's a little dense, a little ignorant. Like, come on, man. Like that's just not gonna fly, man. The race and IQ, interracial marriage, like all those things are not gonna fly on a mainstream stage. Like they're just not gonna work there. So even if they did like you, they'd have to hide that they like you as a mainstream politician. Straight up. I thought he was aware of that. I guess he's not. Or maybe he's just putting on a show for the audience. But I swear to God, I did a video where he was like aware that that shit's not going to fly anywhere. It's not going to work. But all right, here we go.
Friends with Joe Kent. And they had this relationship. Tucker promoted Joe Kent on his show. And I think that Tucker blamed me for the loss. This is his friend. And he said, oh, you made my friend lose. What motivation would you have to see this guy who purports to be America first? Why would you want to take him out? And so Tucker then worked with Max Blumenthal on a hit piece in the gray zone. And that's where all this "you're a federal agent" accusation originated, was from a hit piece in the gray zone in February 2023, just a couple of months after Joe Kent lost. And, so maybe that's just a misunderstanding, but I have said repeatedly, I did not come at Joe Kent randomly. I didn't pick on him because he was great. I was supporting him. Then he disavowed me because I criticize Israel. Like, it doesn't get more on the nose than that. And so I would either like the opportunity to tell Tucker that or to debate about that. But for him to say that, I'm like mobilized by the intelligence agencies or by the left to take out Joe Kent because he's a legit fighter for America first, that's just not true. And, it's on Twitter for everybody to see. You could still find those tweets. They're still up there. And I've been consistent on that story for 3 years now. So anyway.
Sorry, that image right there, it's like, in my mind, I'm like, yo, Nick, you're part of his like painting or like art piece. But maybe not realizing you're that. Like you're kind of like a character within his little script. Not saying it's like that nefarious. I'm just saying like Kanye West. He's weird. He's a weirdo. And he may be so far into the abstract that kind of working around you or dealing with you is like a part of his art piece. I'm just saying. Anyways, here we go.
Still up there. And I've been consistent on that story for 3 years now.
Bigger than that.
So anyway, so that was the basis of his attack. And if I could sit down with him and really just squash the beef, and you know me, I mean, we've had debates and we've had interviews. I'm a big boy. If Tucker wants to give me the Ted Cruz treatment.
When you were here with Kanye, I called you baby Hitler, and I meant it as a joke. But other people would have, oh, how dare you? You just made it. But the point is, we've had some real debates.
Absolutely. And I'm not going to back down or shy away from the questions. And as far as Tucker's concerned, I, like you, want to see America succeed. I am not one of these people that is advocating for violence or for civil war or anything like that. I actually want Trump to succeed. I want America to succeed. I want the border to be closed. I want to avoid a conflict in the Middle East. Tucker has been working to prevent a war in Iran. So have I. I've been calling that, and so have you. I mean, so I look at the three of us as very aligned on certain things.
Nick, you need to start watching Alex's content. Alex is not here to prevent anything. He's here to excuse it when it happens. Let's be honest. He's here to coddle the audience and make them feel comfortable with horrible shit happening. But then again, Alex gives Nick a platform, so Nick just assumes that, well, Alex is a good guy. He gave me a platform. Right? I'm kind of a toxic, as far as like PR-wise, I'm like kind of toxic PR-wise. But Alex gives me a fucking platform, so he must be a good guy. I'm like, yum, 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 yum. If you know that reference, please put it in the comment section. Yum, 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 yum. Here we go.
Things that are good for America, like being against the war. And that's why it's puzzling that for 3 years, or 2.5 years, Tucker's been working against me in this way, making these accusations. And here's the thing. Tucker has 17 million followers. He's got a massive show. If he is promulgating this idea that I'm a Fed in private and in public, that's very damaging for me. And so when I go on my show and say, why is he doing this? Is it because his dad is in the CIA? I'm defending myself. I'm being put in this position where very powerful, influential people with credibility in our movement, whether it's Candace or Tucker, and maybe they don't realize that. Maybe because I'm very popular and I have a fanatical following, maybe it's easy to forget. I'm being charitable here. I'm being nice. Candace has 7 million followers. Tucker has 17 million. I just got unbanned on Twitter last May. I'm not allowed on YouTube. And that's not to play the world's smallest violin for being censored, but it's to say I'm kind of the new kid on the block. I just emerged from being censored all this time. For them to be calling out this orbital strike on my reputation, saying I'm a Fed and making these accusations, and in private, I mean, I have many people I know saying, oh, I have a mutual friend that's insisting you're a Fed because Tucker said so. Like, that's a big problem for me. And so that kind of punching down, it's not really cool. And it's especially not cool when I don't even have the opportunity to defend myself. And I just don't get where all that tough guy stuff goes. He calls out Ray Epps, who he accuses of being a Fed, to go on his show. He calls out Ted Cruz, all these people, but then does a 15-minute drive-by shot on me based on factual inaccuracies. And I don't get the right of reply. I don't even get, an acknowledgement. It just stinks like bad faith at that point. So that's where I have to really fight back. So that's sort of where I am in the whole drama. I don't understand these people. I don't know them. All I have to go by is I know me. I know I'm legit. And if they're calling down these strikes on my reputation, I got to question, who are they? And when I look at them, if they're calling me a CIA agent, it's like, well, that's pretty rich, because we don't have to go in. I don't want to use your platform to attack your friends, but for them to use that attack, it's pretty rich, because Joe Kent, who is the subject of all of it, he's a CIA officer. So did Tucker not know his dad was in the CIA? He doesn't know Joe Kent is in the CIA, yet he knows for a fact that I am. How does that work? Joe Kent, his close friend, and his dad are both in the CIA, to his shock and surprise, but he doesn't know me and doesn't watch my show, but he's absolutely certain that I am intelligence. Now, that's rich and very ironic and also very hard to believe. So, it is with a little bit of, uncertainty, I guess, about their motivations. It's sort of hard to piece together the narrative, although I think I did a good job of it.
Well, just a couple of things there. Nick, although I did a video calling it unfair what they were doing, and I said they were like being dishonest, to be honest with you. I think they were being dishonest because they were on the attack. Candace and Tucker were on the attack against Nick Fuentes. The response is also on the attack. It's not defense. That was not defense. Right? That wasn't a showcase of like, here's how I'm not a Fed. Or at least the video I saw, right? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's more video that I didn't watch or whatever the fuck. I think it was less that. I think I saw the Jafar, that pointy-nosed African, Myron Gaines. I think I saw a video from him that was like, here's how I know Nick is not a Fed because I was a Fed. Which is one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life. But I didn't watch the video, but I saw the title of it. I'm like, oh, that's hilarious. Nick's not a Fed because I'm a Fed. Because I was a Fed, and I know what that looks like. Which is funny as fuck to me. But you weren't like, what I saw was not you defending, like saying like, hey, I'm not a Fed. What I think you did was more of on the attack. There's a counterattack, not a, you know, Floyd Mayweather defensive shell, you know? You're throwing counter punches. Shout out to boxing fans. Shout out to you. Yeah, so but I understand these guys are all like kind of celebrities in their own form or fashion, right? So thus they deal with things a certain way. And they gotta like maintain their reputation and all that shit. But yeah. I would think that maybe a guy like Tucker, because Candace is black, right? So she can aesthetically, right? So she can like say like, oh, I'm from black culture, so thus when you're on here, I can like question you about this, and boom, it makes sense. Versus Tucker, who's like, yeah, if I touch this, I'll be called a racist. If I'm around this guy doing a full blown interview of him. Right? Once again, not saying Tucker is not full of shit at all. Definitely not saying that. I'm just saying, like, some people might think about it that way. As in, like, hey, I'll have Nick Fuentes on, but what if he doesn't ask you anything about the racial stuff, Nick Fuentes? Then I'm sure some other publication or mainstream news network or other content creators within the, celebrity YouTube content creation sphere, they'd be like, well, look, Tucker's like one of him. Tucker's like this guy because he didn't question him on any of this stuff. Once again, not giving excuses for Tucker. I'm just saying you do have some ideas, Nick, that are not going to fly too well with massive audiences. I thought he knew that, but maybe not. All right, here we go. Here's Alex Jones, I guess, responding.
I want to be able to continue, and I want to tell you why they think that. And I was there.
First,
I understand. I know what happened that day. People got hyped up. I know the inside baseball because I had one of the big J6 lawyers, Norm Pattis, who was for the Proud Boys and others, and the Oath Keepers. And I know
Proud Boys. I think people said they had feds in there too. Maybe confirmed. I don't know. Anyways,
that he was your lawyer as well. And people go, oh, they got the same lawyer. They were working for the secret group too. So I get the same stuff. No, there's only certain lawyers that have balls to actually go in and do this because they try to disbar them. They try to put them in jail. They put a bunch of Trump lawyers in jail, for heaven's sakes. But I knew behind the scenes they were saying, he's on a no
for having sex or J6. Sorry for pausing. Also, the logic of because CNN shits on you does not make you legitimate all of a sudden, Alex. But Alex is still doing that. He still does that, by the way. For Nick fans that don't realize what Alex is, that apparently Nick doesn't realize what Alex does on his fucking platform. But here we go. Remember, don't believe me. It's, dick ride.
No, there's only certain lawyers that have balls to actually go in and do this because they try to disbar them. They try to put them in jail. They put a bunch of Trump lawyers in jail, for heaven's sakes. But I knew behind the scenes they were saying, he's on a no-fly list. They didn't seize his bank account. They're not subpoenaing him. They're not. I was getting subpoenaed too. You were the J6 committee. I know all that. So they don't do that to their operatives. You don't have Bill Barr with this new Veritas video where they got the text messages, the emails threatening the lady at the PR firm with Armstrong Williams reportedly and Bill Barr, Trump's former attorney general, running around with Fannie Willis in
protection,
Georgia, literally helping her develop the plan to indict Trump for racketeering, which they did. And there you are in the hit list to put in jail on January 6th, and later you're on the hit list. So that right there, folks, when you're on a Bill Barr hit list, and that's confirmed, because he's like right at the top of this thing, former high-level CIA, attorney general twice for H.W. Bush, the W. Bush. You don't do that. And I mean, that is just a fact. And so we can get to some of that coming up because I think that's important to get on the record here. But this is the issue.
Before Alex goes, I just want to reiterate, because of whatever headline things you see does not make someone a good person or a bad person. Use your own common sense is my humble opinion, or whatever. Use your fucking simple ass, just look at it a little bit type of shit. It can't just be because you got threatened with jail time that means that you're legit now. Or the other way around, right? Because you're not being targeted, that means, oh, you must be full of shit. Like, be honest, be fair, be empathetic, most importantly. That's my humble opinion on things. You're gonna have to run with that one, but here we go.
You don't do that. And I mean, that is just a fact.
Alex's
and so we
logic
can
is not
get
good
to some of
enough, is
that
what I'm
coming
saying.
up because I think that's important to get on the record here. But this is the issue, Nick. And I know you've released the emails, the text messages, all of it. We go to the lips, and then Trump says march
Pause.
down there, and it's all, hey, people have gone to the Capitol. It's fun. We don't know what's going on in there. You're down the road. You hear what's on the internet. Okay, go in the Capitol. Okay, people got hyped up. People got excited. I saw a lot of other people that went in and did the same thing. You didn't go in. Now, you can still say, though,
Baked
all right,
Alaska.
he didn't get indicted.
For sure, he's legit,
you,
right,
you weren't
guys?
even at the Capitol, and you didn't go in. If you would have been there, I think you might have been.
Baked Alaska's
But
legit,
the point
right, guys?
is that they protected Ray Epps, who's running around for days saying go in, break in, do all of this. And so I think that piece of evidence alone doesn't make you a Fed. Then I know the inside baseball because I had the same lawyer, and you've now released all the documents and stuff that went on, that wasn't, fake. And I've had to use lawyers to get undebanked and had to move banks. You have to file lawsuits. And then people say, oh, no, that's how they got control of him and all the rest of it. So I've been through this so much internally myself that I know the lay of the land because I was there. And then I experienced it. And then I followed the case. And then I had the same lawyer. And so that's the reality of all of this. But this is the clip that has Tucker concerns. I want to play it so you can respond. Here it is.
Keep moving towards the Capitol. It appears we are taking the Capitol back.
He's like 95 pounds, bro. Look at this little kid. Good Nick. You can't even see him. He's so tiny.
Break down the barriers and disregard the police. This Capitol belongs to us. They're evacuating the Capitol. You're evacuating the Capitol. They're evacuating the Capitol. The police are evacuating the Capitol. Scurry out of the people's house. And that's exactly how it should be. These politicians don't represent us.
Someone get Nick some phone books to stand on.
We are forcibly evicting them from the people's house. They should live in fear of the American people.
All right. So you have to remember the climate of the
Okay. I mean, that could be interpreted a million different ways, right? He didn't say, like, charge, right? And I do remember when this, like, I was working when this thing happened that I had no clue about, honestly. I had no idea this was going to happen. I seen, like, small clips of this, of Nick on the megaphone, like, afterwards. But when it was happening, I had no idea, like, people were about to, like, march over here. And it was on, like, on the TV, at work. And I don't know, I kind of was, like, quietly just paying a lot more attention to what I was hearing, right? And I was like, sorry. Then the some of the other events started happening where people are being reported killed and all that shit, right? And I was like, but wait, these guys didn't kill anyone. The protesters, I'm not aware of them like killing anyone. I heard of like a heart attack. I heard of a fucking like security guy or whatever the fuck, or a Senate Capitol Police people. They shot a lady there. But yet the news coverage was actually is super fucking weird. Where they're like, oh, look, these insurrection led to 5 deaths. I'm like, but all the deaths I heard are from, like, not them, really. Like, so I'm like, oh, that's kind of weird. Now, did it make me grab a banner and say, oh my God, I'm on their team now? No, because I have a fucking brain. But I did see the quote-unquote like unfair news coverage. I did see that. Also, get Nick some phone books to stand on. He barely stands out. He's this little guy over there. Listen, I gotta talk shit. All right. It is what it is.
I think
He's a
the
little
guy
guy.
on the right is like 7 feet tall. Jeez.
Watch that guy on the right be like 5'10", and Nick's just like
Right.
he's swarmed. Some guy in like 2 steps below him is almost as tall as him and shit. Sorry, it's always the little guys. It is what it is. Big as fucking mouse. All right, pause. All right, here we
With
go.
that day, for me, what stood out was the party of the Second Amendment and open carry and all of these things, completely unarmed to this insurrection. that always stood out. Like is
Yeah.
not as advertised.
Well, I remember the girl getting shot, and I got like visibly and internally very pissed off about that. Like, aren't you guys supposed to be like the savage? Like, you're like a police officer or something. You guys are supposed to be like savages, right? Meaning like little things don't like move you. You can handle chaotic situations, right? But some lady got fucking shot because someone broke a window or something. Like, get that pussy out of here. Replace that. Like, he should be fired that day. But then again, we don't actually hold standards for all these things. So yeah, I got fucking pissed when they killed some lady. What was her name? Like Ashley Babbitt or something like that. It wasn't like, no offense to her. I don't know her, right? I wasn't viewing it like, oh my God, let's make a monument of this lady. I didn't know her. It's just the idea of like, this is why you shoot someone? Really? So I got very angry about that. Granted, I'm, once again, politically nowhere near any of these people here. Nowhere near them. If it was a bunch of lefty people, still nowhere near them. For me personally, or my point of view at least. But it was still like aggravate, like actually anger-inducing because of. All right, they're getting rowdy, sure, but do you pull a fucking gun out and shoot someone? Like fuck, like you're not a fucking hero. Get the fuck out of here. You're fired. But then again, I'd say that to Congress too. Like, you guys are not fucking heroes. You're relying on the world being dumb. That's how you get by on your shit. You get by on people not knowing what's going on or them being stupid. You take advantage of it. So guess what? You should be fucking gone from here. Fired. Go do something else. Go start a garden or something like that. Stay away from fucking shit like this, bro. Honestly. But then again, I have a brain and eyes and ears. Let's continue. Here we go. I mean, we're not even near the debate yet, I guess. But here we go. Maybe we get there.
Democrats were taking over capitals all the time.
No,
having
not doing
protests,
1.5
sit-ins. They've done it
fuck that.
recently in Michigan and Georgia. And it's
cadences.
not called a terror attack. And I've seen your description of what you were saying, and I understand it from
Alex
the
doing
time
whataboutism.
that we're all angry. They've stolen the election. That's confirmed.
Healthy.
You're called there. You go there. I saw you a few days ago in a clip. Describe this if you could repeat people that information, because I mean I believe it. I buy it.
Yeah. So as you know, the January 6th protest, this is something that I almost wasn't even going to attend because at January 6th, it was basically over. The whole plan for Stop the Steal, there were all these different deadlines, and the goal was to get the state representatives in the state capitals to take back the power to appoint the electors that would go and make the decision. So there were all kinds of deadlines about certifying the election, picking the slate of electors, all these things. By January 6th, we knew it was over. We knew that probably Mike Pence was not going to do this option where he would not read some of the votes was one of the, that's why Trump had a big problem with him because the play was that he would decline to read the votes from the states where the result was contested. We knew that wasn't going to happen. Now, for that reason, I said, I don't even know if I'm going to go on January 6th to the speech on the ellipse. Because that was the event. For those that were in the know, January 6th was supposed to just be Trump for the first time was working with Women for America First, Stop the Steal, all the big organizations that organized the protests. For the first time, the White House was collaborating with them to do a big thing.
And by the way, I can verify all that because I started the event a month before for the date down the road in a smaller area. The White House calls. They said, hey, we want you to run.
Don't incriminate yourself.
Because people that don't know, they can't use federal funds for that. They wanted me to work with donors and move to the ellipse and raise like $5 million. I said, I'm not doing that. I handed it off to the Republicans. I said, I'm not involved. I've raised $350,000 from listeners. I gave them the money, didn't keep a cent of it. I raised from listeners. And because I didn't want to manage something like this. I can't manage a dinner party, much less that.
You see why he's not
going to have Trump at our event. We're just going to have a rally as we'd had many before, the months before. One of them had 500,000 people there. So absolutely, I can vouch because I was there for all of this. And I can also vouch that I said this the first day. I don't think Trump was involved. And I'm not interrupting. I just want you to integrate this in. They wait. There's like 1 million people there. Only 30,000 can get in the cordoned off area at the ellipse. They're all over the Washington Monument, everywhere, red hats everywhere. I'm sitting there in the front row. It's freezing. You were in there too, right over from me. And then halfway through, Trump goes, march peacefully to the Capitol. The Secret Service opens the gate in front of me. I go into the backstage. They take me through and they open me out on Pennsylvania Avenue and go lead it. And I go lead it. Hundreds of thousands had already marched. By the time I get there, it's total bedlam. The internet doesn't work. The phones don't work. Everything's jammed out. There's so many people. And I had no idea what was going on. But then I had these special operation guys, former Delta Force guys and people. They're like, well, it's obviously staged. You know, we got Antifa up there because they'd already gotten there right when it was starting. They said, they ran down to meet us. They go, because the phones wouldn't work. They go, you got to get down there and tell them not to go in. This is a setup. So I run, as fast as I can with no Achilles down there.
Oh, really? Told them that.
Oh,
trying to stop people going in. So sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to give the backstory of that. And clearly, I didn't
The whole
know,
industry, right?
not by Trump, but insiders knew there was a setup working inside the administration. Bill Barr, we now know, who was on the ground and caught organizing it with the Democrats, that we were all set up and we were all told to come there. You, the Proud Boys, the Oath Keepers, all of us to be set up. I think that's
told them it was a setup.
4. Sorry, Nick, go ahead.
So January 6th was set up by Democrats too? Is everything Democrats? That's kind of like a full of shit answer, in my humble opinion.
He just said that he started that organization, but he couldn't do it, so he handed it off. He started this.
For legal reasons, I can't put my name on this.
And then who told him it was a setup?
Special ops guys.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I don't know if Nick's going to get it. He probably will in this. But I saw a different video where Nick's describing, he's kind of hitting back on Milo's accusations. It's like showing receipts about how Milo received texts about the heads up the day before to not be there.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry. I get wrecked at Baked Alaska. For me, my personal autopsy of the situation. When I see that guy around, I'm like, okay, something's not exactly legit happening. When I see the Baked Alaska guy there, like, oh, this guy's been blatantly full of shit. In my humble opinion, blatantly full of shit. Does not tackle issues. He does strictly culture war content type of shit, or at least the shit I saw from that guy. and I'm like, okay, if I see him, which I did, I'm like, okay, something's not right here. Now, is that to say like everyone was there or a part of some sort of weird thing? No, I'm not saying that. But I'm saying with that guy, my intuition, my investigation of things, and all that actually do lead to the answer like that guy's full of shit. If you're following along around that guy, you're gonna get caught up in something that you maybe don't want to be caught up in. That's all I'm saying. But yeah. All right, here we go. Here's more.
Yeah, and so my experience on that day is that I showed up in a suit and tie. You know, I didn't come in like commando gear because we really
This is gonna
thought
be a
we're
very
going to
long
this
video.
speech. And then that was it. That was the speech, and Trump was going to talk, and then we were all going to go home. I think we even had an interview planned with you. I think I was planning to talk to you doing a show.
We had rented the media roof across from the Capitol, which anybody can pay $5,000 and get, by the way, for the day. And so I'm above the Capitol, and I was doing all these interviews. And then the left said, indict Jones. He was perched on a building to run the attack. No, I'd rented that place 3 or 4 times before. I was right by CNN and ABC News. But absolutely, we had an interview that night booked.
Isn't there a problem with
so
renting
point
that?
being is like I didn't have any plans to even be at the Capitol building.
I mean,
was
with all
gonna
the
go to
people
the
there.
ellipse, watch the speech. I had a VIP pass. I was literally
You
right
somehow got it.
And what changed is that, as you said, and everyone can confirm this who was there, Trump said in the speech, we are going to go and peacefully make our voices heard outside the Capitol. And there was like a rumbling that you and Trump were going to lead the march, and you left early. And I said, oh, that's the program. I guess we're all going to the Capitol. And you're right. The phones weren't working. Anyone who's been to a baseball game or a concert knows how that goes. When you're in a high density area, the cell doesn't work. So we said, okay, I guess we're just going to the Capitol. So we walked to the Capitol. By the time I got there, the barricades surrounding the Capitol complex on the lawn had already been taken down. At that point, which had happened earlier in the day, the protesters had already gotten onto the lawn and were on the steps of the building. So I arrive at the Capitol, and I'm there with like a group of a half dozen people, fans of mine. We're taking pictures. We're hanging out. I don't think we ever got closer than 300 feet from the Capitol. We were on the lawn. And somebody came up to me and said, oh, you know, you got to give a speech. You got to give a speech, because this was the program. You and I had done this at all the state capitals. I was in Lansing, Atlanta, Harrisburg, Phoenix, D.C., and we gave speeches with megaphones at the governor's mansion, at the state capitol.
You climb up on the highest statue or object, and you speak to the crowd.
Right. We did it in D.C. We did it at Million MAGA. There's pictures, videos. So somebody said, oh, this is an historic day. You got to give a speech. I said, well, find me a megaphone. So somebody, some orbiter, you know, some fan of mine zips off, grabs a megaphone, brings it back. We look for the highest place. And that statue that you see me on there, that was Peace Circle. You could look at a map of the Capitol complex. It's 500 feet from the building. So, you know, I think that's a big part of the missing context is people look at that video, they see the speech.
Get him a phone book.
And they imagine maybe I'm like guiding people into the building. I was 500 feet away from the building. And so when I'm saying, you know, take down the barricades, there were barricades on the lawn, which people were already on top of. There were barricades on the lawn in front of the Peace Circle, which that is what I was referring to. And I was saying, because the idea was, this is what the chatter on the ground was, we were going to protest on the lawn until they came back in session and gave Trump the election. The idea was this was like a protest. So when I said, you know, we're going to hold the Capitol, it was like,
and
we're not going to leave until...
I said the same thing the weeks up to it. I said, we're going to peacefully, that was even, I think we even had a website, peacefully occupy the lawn until they actually have an investigation in Congress into the election fraud.
Exactly. And this is how this...
Just want to add, Trump said, arrest the criminals. As far as my memory serves me, I think he was saying, like, arrest the criminals, arrest them. Maybe Trump's the Fed the whole time. Maybe. But here we go.
Stuff goes. People don't realize when you're in the heat of the moment and there's no
at some
plan
point, I'm gonna skip
there's
for
just
the
like this chatter that goes on the ground,
debate
and you
part.
get these ideas, and you know it's like a mob thing. And so you're there, and we're saying to ourselves, okay, we're here on the Capitol complex. Mike Pence did not do what Trump wanted him to do. They shut down the session where they were counting the electoral votes. And we said, yeah, like we're not going to leave until they, choose Trump in the election. That's the basis of the speech on Peace Circle. But then we start to get word that the cops are coming in heavy. We get word that special forces are coming in. They're throwing tear gas down on the lawn. So me and the whole group I was with, we said, let's get out of here. And so people like to say, oh, you sent people into the Capitol, but nothing happened to you. Every single person that was with me in that video did not get charged. That whole group of people, and by the way, we weren't on restricted grounds. The only people that got charged were people that were in the building.
But Nick, they did try to charge you. That was, and I had the same lawyer. So I mean, and you've released the documents. They did subpoena you. They did come after you. They did call you before the Jan 6 committee. We have Bill Barr, and we should get to, and I don't want to spend the whole night on that because we've got a lot more to hit. But I actually have the clips of the whistleblower with the documents. Nick's name, my name, General Flynn. How they want to take us down for Jan 6, and then 2 years later, 2023, because you were still seen as a supporter of Trump then.
People still talk about you.
I already showed this Friday and already showed this Monday. Yep. But this is all right here. Project Veritas, Part 2, whistleblower Bill Barr held secret meetings to plot prosecutions of Trump and will come back. But the bigger story is, and what they thought was his biggest supporters, and Nick is on that. You don't get on the Bill Barr hit list if you're Ray Epps. Notice Ray Epps
the guy that Trump hired, Bill Barr.
Right. Well, and not only that, as you said, I got my bank account frozen. I got put on the no-fly list. It's in the New York Times that they were considering hitting me with charges. I got subpoenaed in 22. And I mean, maybe the coup de grace is that I testified under oath that I never interviewed with law enforcement, which I did not. I never talked to the FBI. FBI never came to me, never talked to any law enforcement or intel agency. And I mean, look, my bank account got frozen. And this happened without them even telling me.
Who's this Russian
Eventually, after 2 weeks, the bank told me who froze the money. They gave me the phone number of the lawyers that put the legal hold on the account. I sent it to my lawyers immediately. My lawyers.
I'm sorry. Look at the fucking buffalo, dude. What a fucking picture, bro. Look at that thing. That's hilarious. I'd be like, oh, you're just some dumb. All right, you're free to go. You fucking idiot. Get out of here. Look at his fucking outfit. I'm like, you're no threat to anyone. Go ahead. Go. You're out of here. Free to go.
Called the U.S. attorney, and then they said you're under investigation because of this Bitcoin transaction, which I discussed on my show on Monday, and your placement on the Capitol complex. Now, when I got subpoenaed a year later, after the money had been frozen and unfrozen, after I got put on the no-fly list and taken off, I testified under oath I never had any contact with federal law enforcement in that way. And as you said, I mean, Ray Epps, for all that people say about him, he got charged also. So it's like people say, well, nothing happened to you. Well, things did happen to me. Well, then they say you didn't get charged. Okay, but people did get charged and then informed. Brandon Straka got charged and informed. Ray Epps allegedly was an informant. He got charged too. So you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. And in my situation, they were interested in me because I was a stop-the-steal person.
Pictures of a printout.
Because they thought I was in the building because of a case of mistaken identity. They investigated because of this Bitcoin transaction, which was unusual. And I think they came to the conclusion I wasn't in the building.
She was repeatedly instructed to hand over these notes and face threats to ensure their return. Please hand over all the documents, notes, and phones you have. Armstrong could send someone to your house at any moment, and we're willing to pay for them so you can move on with your life peacefully. If you do this, we can all go our separate ways without further interaction or something like that. But I'll give it a couple more seconds, but I actually want to skip to the National Guard in the streets of BC, I guess, helping fight crime, where I'm very sure that Alex and Nick have differing point of views. And at least on the surface, right? And I'm very curious what Alex does with actual scrutiny towards his ideas. because I have plenty of things to scrutinize and also the question, obviously. Here we go.
Bitcoin transaction was, although it looked suspicious, it was benign. And then I think ultimately they dropped it. And
well, we also had like MSNBC and CNN running images of you and I and others in different state capitals like Georgia, where we were invited and were peaceful and occupied peacefully. And they show us walking up the stairs, and they would show and go, look, there they are in the U.S. Capitol on J6. So incredible levels of disinformation.
Yeah,
absolutely. And in my case,
right?
A former friend of mine, Baked Alaska, he was live streaming inside the building. There was a screen grab from the stream of some other guy standing behind him. And there were posts that went viral saying that that was me. We were wearing completely different outfits. I was wearing a suit and tie and a long coat. This guy was wearing a scarf and a hat and a jacket. But people were saying in tweets that got millions and millions of views, that's Nick Fuentes in the Capitol in Nancy Pelosi's office. And I literally went to Mark Randall.
Instead they show Alex's. That's funny. Show the Baked Alaska one.
I have the contract of a famous defamation lawyer. I think I paid him $10,000
It's the Punisher
to
with
investigate
Trump's
if
hair
I
on
could
it.
pursue a
Did you see that
defamation
shirt?
case against a couple of left-wing journalists, against a couple of media outlets that made that claim. Because I'm sure that ran up the flagpole to the DOJ, and they said, oh, that's the picture. Then that guy got arrested. Like, that guy was identified and arrested later. It was a case of mistaken identity.
This guy on the right?
Sorry. This guy right here is Baked Alaska. This guy, to me, personally, like, this guy's full of shit. Full of fucking shit. Like, early days, I saw Baked Alaska. This guy's full of shit to me. And then, you're right, Jesse. He said former friend, right? Who knows what happened? But I remember this guy, early days, he'd host Jared Taylor and all that shit, who I also think is, like, a little suspect to me. But, yeah, this is one of those guys where I'm like, this guy's full of shit, bro. He's at the big events, right? You know, the, what was it? Was it Right to March or some shit like that, bro? The South Carolina shit. Right, Charlottesville?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was one of the names there, for sure. And I'm like, this guy's full of shit, bro. If you fall for this guy's full of shit. You're being duped, tricked, whatever. It's like a party for these guys, bro. They make money off of you, then they go party when they're done. With whoever, by the way. Probably coke, probably alcohol, whatever the fuck is going on over there. Most likely. I'm just saying. But, all right, here we go. Of course, Nick fell for that, too. But, okay, you can say Nick's a kid, but, like, at the same time, like, I ain't falling for that when I'm a kid. Sorry. Me at 18, 19, 20, 21 is not falling for this shit. No offense. But, you know. There he is. Here we go.
Like, that guy was identified and arrested later. It was a case of mistaken.
It looks a little like Nick.
That's
a little
why
bit.
I can clear you.
A little bit. The guy in the background looks
look,
a little
I'm not
like
God,
Nick.
but 99%, I believe you. I was there. I know you're a lawyer. I know the inside baseball. I know what you went through. It was all real.
I know you're a lawyer.
People say, oh, they're attacking Jones. It's part of the cover. It's fake. No, it isn't fake. It's real. So we just spent 40 minutes on this.
Yeah,
it was
move
very
on.
important. I really want to get into the issues we kind of agree on and disagree on. And the time we've got. So just let me budget out time. Nick, how long? Are you good for another hour?
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah, let's do another hour.
Okay, but I'm going to give you the floor right now on the bigger issue. Just as a media analyst, smart futurist guy, very good at predicting things. You predicted Trump would really have big trouble with Israel trying to control his administration. I don't think they're totally controlled. They're certainly trying, so we've got to deal with it. I want to get into Iran.
He somehow threw excuses in the middle of that shit. It's kind of crazy, right? Sorry, I'll play it again just so people that know what he just said right there. He's adding excuses in the middle of him saying, "Well, Trump has trouble with Israel, and but probably for good reasons though, And here we go. Here's TRT Alex Jones.
Absolutely.
Okay,
yeah, let's do another hour.
Okay, but I'm going to give you the floor right now on the bigger issue. Just as a media analyst, smart futurist guy, very good at predicting things. You predicted Trump would really have big trouble with Israel trying to control his administration. I don't think they're totally controlled. They're certainly trying, so we've got to deal with it. I want to get into Iran, how they're trying to get back in there. You're, from what I've seen, saying
Best
Trump does want a police state. I disagree, at least so far. I want to get into all that with you, but what is it people want to know personally, what it's like for you to have everybody pile onto you, which I would have told these people, actually did, some of them. I said, if you think somebody's bad, you understand doing this to make them bigger. And so,
what?
I mean, this is exploded, and it's only getting bigger now. And
pause again.
I'm one of the few people that's experienced what you've gone through multiple times, like many times. But I wouldn't even say. Well, I've had deplatforming big blow-ups that have been as big as this. Okay, there's not many people other than like a Trump or even a Tucker getting fired at Fox that have had a blow-up this big. So clearly, I don't think you started this blow-up, and I can see both sides of the beefs and everything. But just what is it like for you now?
I'm sorry, dude. It's too comical. I can see both sides of the beef. Like, yo, pause. Yo, pause, Alex. That shit.
Then he starts cupping.
Jesus Christ, dude. I can see both sides clearly of the beef. Both sides of the beef. Like, yo, pause, bro. You see this? He's like, no, I didn't mean that. Like, his face on screen right there. He's like, wait. Let me go. Blue methylene, Infowars.com/blue meth. Here we go.
Blow up this big. So clearly, I don't think you started this blow up. And I can see both sides of the beefs and everything. But just what is it like for you now? And then just saying you're not Nick Fuentes, but you still have your brain. What do you think is going to come out of this? I think it's the right move, a smart move, a good move to say, hey, just debate me or have a friendly discussion. And I think it needs to happen. And I'm talking about Tucker specifically. And, Elon is a regular listener. We've had some big, long discussions on air. I think you should talk to Elon. I think Elon should talk to you. He hasn't done these spaces in a while. They get hundreds of millions of views. I don't know why he does it for listeners. With one with Trump got over 1 billion. I think people want open discussion. We know they want it. And populism and freedom is the hottest thing. Why not take it to the next level?
Hottest thing.
And of course, I'm not somebody that courts raw controversy for no reason. I don't go around and they call it infighting, but insert myself in these things. I try to be the peacemaker. People I think are overall doing good work, even though they disagree on some things. But I know they know this. The people that have attacked you, they've been hurt by it. You've been helped by it. And they're doing good work. I would like them, like when Trump 40 days ago came out and said, there's no Epstein, shut up. I said, I've never seen any evidence you really involved in anything bad. Why are you doing this? You need to stop it. It really hurt him in the polls. So that's my philosophy, is targeting the globalists and focusing on them. If Republicans or populists do something bad, I will report it. But the Democrats are so much worse. I spend 90% of my time on them. Trump does this stuff, shove about Epstein. He killed himself. He didn't do anything wrong. He wasn't human trafficking. He had no accomplices. There was no blackmail. I'm like, do you understand this is the biggest Streisand effect ever? Day one. I got huge backlash from the Israel lobby that says we're MAGA, you're a panicker. The same groups that attacked me when I was against going to full war with Iran.
I forgot what his question was.
Coordinated attack. And then I pulled back from that.
Protecting himself,
and the day one, I said, Trump's behind this ordered cover-up. And then 2 days later, it's like, yeah, I'm the one. Shut up. It doesn't exist. Well, I mean, of course I knew that. Then I made calls and confirmed it. Then I made calls and talked to folks that were in long meetings with him. Then I learned a lot of stuff I'm not even allowed to say.
Okay.
I halfway leaked it. They stuck his wife in there and other lies, pissed him off. They knew what they were doing. And you can give your own opinion of where you think this is going.
I think he was asking Nick a question.
If he'll just stop saying, don't talk about it, it'll probably go away. But I'd like to get to the bottom of it. So that's kind of
Alex is trying to make himself look legit right now.
Consciousness on that. So take some time here. I'm trying not to interrupt. And what is it like personally for you? And then where do you see this going? And then do you agree with me that the fact that so many people across the political spectrum in the world
my ass off.
are really
that was all part of one sentence question.
You, that is not just because you're smart and well spoken, all the rest of it, because people piled on you, which is so obvious. And people want the underdog. They can see it. I've experienced it myself.
Pause again.
But this is also a bigger symbol of the total collapse of faith in the system. But people that still try to blame both sides and act like they're anti-establishment, but then still kind of go after whoever they see on the leading edge of intellectual resistance, that's just not smart to turn the country and the world around.
Fans, Nick fans on my channel.
We want to overcome all this bullying culture and intimidation and just break it. And you're
Says
doing
no
that.
periods in his monologue. They're just commas.
Big complex amalgamation, so I can see how people see you as an easy target, but not in this climate. I mean, I mean, obviously, I agree with a lot of what you say. I think you're smart. I've liked you. I've known you for 8 years, and you're a popular guest on my show, and I'm all about good thought and discussion and debate, and you know what the listeners like. I'll give my ideas, you give yours. But I mean, I could see years ago, and I told the crew, I said, Nick Fuentes is going to get bigger and better.
This is,
and I said, you know, I'm trying behind the scenes to influence you some, saying, hey, you might want to press the gas so much or you're going to kill you. But that's not because they're telling me to do that. I'm getting money to do it. I'm like,
just like crazy, right?
Fly too close to the sun here. But it doesn't matter. That's where we are anyways.
Who cares?
And so it's kind of damn the maneuvers, go straight at them. So that's my rant. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of how it feels, it's a little bit frustrating because I feel like for as long as I've been doing my show, for as long as I've been doing this, and as much as people talk about my motivations or who I really work for, you know, this kind of stuff, all I've ever really wanted is for people to listen to my ideas. It's just to listen.
Me too, Nick.
And what I think really resonated with people when I clapped back on Tucker, it wasn't even so much, I spent 3 hours talking about the CIA and all this stuff. The part that resonated was the very end of the show, where I addressed the personal attacks. Because in addition to him insinuating that I work for intelligence or something like that, he said I'm a weird gay kid in a basement from Chicago. I'm a child. And in the clip that went viral on TikTok and Twitter, I said, did you forget when you did that part of your show that you're always pandering to the young white men? Isn't that kind of like the lead? Isn't that like the story of the past 10 years? Is the young white men who have no meaning in their lives, who are struggling to get married, who can't afford a home, who don't feel any allegiance to the country. They don't feel like they're a part of the country. There's no society. There's no social fabric. It's like, did you forget that, you know, those are the people that you purport to care about, that you're trying to win over, you're defending their interests? And in the clip, I said, I am that guy. Like, I'm of that demographic. I'm 26 years old. I was born in 98. I'm Generation Z. I said, and like the Turning Point students, the chapter leaders, like all these people, I went to a selective school. I dropped out. I come from a working class family. College was very expensive. I got canceled because I supported Trump in the 2016 election. You know, he woke me up. Like, I went through all these things that they're always talking about. I'm facing these challenges they're always talking about. You know, anything that you want to say, incel, racist, Trump supporter, like, I represent all those different kind of facets of the, you know, disaffected young white male. I lived it. I am it. And so for Tucker to kind of have that tone, and for people like Candace and Elon to just hit me now with like a new attack. For 10 years, it was, you're a racist, you're a Nazi, you're this. Now for it to be like, oh, you're a Fed, you're a basement dweller, you're this. It's like, you know, I, as a representative of this generation, am just saying the same thing we all are, which is, you know, listen to us. Instead of trying to put us in a box and speak for us and say, we're going to do a show about Klarna, we're going to do a show about the affordability crisis for homeowners, why don't you listen to the source? And, you know, with all these different things, he's making accusations about Joe Kent. I have a very solid response to that, but they won't listen. You know, Tucker says I'm this hateful, crazy extremist. Why do you attack these people? I have explanations for this stuff. I do a show about it for 10 years. And you would think, you know, clearly what I have done, this movement that I've created, it has become a phenomenon. I think that's inarguable. Whether you love it, hate it, whatever you think about it, it is widely talked about. It's become a phenomenon. You would think that people would look at this, and rather than dismiss it or hand wave it away, they might try to understand it. If there's a charismatic guy in the middle of it who is, kind of beating the odds against the censorship and all this, created this diehard following, this cult-like following, you would say, what's the appeal? What's the basis?
And people coming to your house to kill you. We covered it.
Of course, Alex. You go there. Like, what's the appeal? Yeah, kind of. What's the Santa Gold song? Disparate Youth. Although she's a black chick from Brooklyn, but probably the same phenomenon, right? Like, to be honest, probably the same exact phenomenon. Maybe, well, okay, not exact, but like different, like maybe purviews that grow from there. But the phenomenon of like young people feeling like they're not listened to or kicked to the side has been a thing that's been around for a very long time. It is not new. Maybe it's right wing new, or I guess maybe. I'm just being honest. Not trying to like. I don't play sides in politics. I really don't. But culturally and like artistically, maybe it's new over there, where it's like, yeah, it's okay to be a geek. It's okay to be a nerd or whatever. Okay. It's okay to be an incel or whatever ideas these guys are, I guess, running through. Okay. Fair enough. Granted, that did exist from the side that you guys will not look at all. But artistically, that's been there in artwork, by the way, for years and years and years. And now that it comes through a guise of Nick Fuentes, now it's like, oh my god, I never heard of this before. It's like, sure, but it's been there. It's been there for a very long time. Like, very long time. Like, before, like, some of these young people are, like, actually born. Those ideas were there. Like, actually. So it's, like, actually kind of interesting. But, all right, here we go. I'm just
censorship
saying.
And all this created this diehard
Look at me.
following,
I
this
didn't do nothing.
cult-like following. You would say, what's the appeal? What's the basis?
And people coming to your house to kill you. We covered it, and almost no one else.
Alex turns it into...
When he got killed by the cops after trying to kill them,
conspiracy.
He comes with a gun. I'm here to kill you at your house while you're on air, and then almost no one even defended you. I thought that was really chicken shit.
Really?
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that. You were one of the only people that covered it, so God bless you for that.
Well, why not? They're coming after me, too. I'll expect you to... I've told you on the phone, hey, I expect you to defend me, too, buddy.
Yeah, you said bail me out of jail, and you got to bail me out, right? So it's goes both ways. But yeah, so I mean, I'm the subject of all this controversy and all these different things. And
I scratch your back, you scratch my back.
Take a good faith interest and just sort of like a journalist, just kind of jump into the middle of it and say, what is this all about? Why do these young people gravitate towards him? And for 10 years, they don't get it.
Good song.
They're just not listening. Even Charlie Kirk, who isn't really a part of the latest
that
drama.
Should be their song, but they
Charlie
can't
Kirk,
listen to it
he got a caller that called into his radio show, and it was a mother.
Oh my God. Okay, I remember this. I do remember this. I very much remember this. Of these kids, like, walking, like, I remember this. Like, actually very directly. Which is very interesting. Okay. And I've not seen this in a very long time, by the way. This is like years ago, this video footage was here. But yeah, all you Nick fans, if you're here at this point, please, Disparate Youth by Santa Gold. I know she's black. It's a woman. She's from Brooklyn. I understand. But check that fucking song out. Anyways, here we go.
Said, my two young kids, they're really anti-Semitic. I think they're following some online personality.
Remember this, bro.
She's obviously talking about me. And Charlie Kirk says, they're going down a dark path. You need to tell them that blaming Israel for your problems is victim culture. And I listen to that and it's like, wow, it's been 10 years and you still don't get it. Like, you still don't get why people like me. You still don't get why people are angry. You still don't get it because you're not listening. You're not taking it seriously. And you almost wonder, when will they take it seriously? I think they're taking it seriously now, because I would bet you 2 bits that when Tucker and Candace did that show and made this dishonorable drive-by gossipy attack, I'm sure they talked about it beforehand. Do you want to cover this? Yeah. How are we going to treat it? I'm sure when they did this little drive-by attack, they thought that they were going to get away with that. They were going to do this little snipe on me. They're going to make me look like a jerk. They're going to humiliate me, and people are going to pile on to me. I would bet you 2 bits they had no idea the kind of backlash they would get from that clip. And you wonder, are you taking it seriously now? Now that you see the ferocious reply, not just from me, but on TikTok and from my supporters, are you going to take it seriously now? And are you going to listen to what we're saying?
Oh, my God. Okay. For the sake of my own credibility, I might have to actually look this up. In the middle of the video, had other shit. Okay, there we go. I remember it was Steven Crowder's Halloween special thing, right? And there were these Groyper guys showing up, asking questions in the middle of his fucking thing. And it's like, oh, these guys are gonna, like, because of
the following presentation.
Ignore that. Red Elephants, yeah. Where's the Crowder thing? Maybe I didn't video on this. There's Crowder, and he's doing a live show. That's terrible. Fuck, do I have this? I might not have it, actually. Fuck. God damn it. It's one where Crowder's like live and people show up to like in suits and ties with a crucifix or whatever the fuck, a rosary or whatever. And they're like, yo, Crowder. And they ask him questions about like Israel a little bit. Like, okay, I remember that shit. And that walk I saw right there, I've definitely seen that before. 100%. That's very interesting, actually. And like that's what he's living off of. Okay. It's not as impressive as Nick makes it. But at, whatever. All right, here we go.
Because I don't even want to be praised. I don't want adulation. I don't want the glory. I just want people to listen to the arguments.
Save money and make it a
that's
deal.
Really it. For as much as people like to talk about my sexuality, people like to talk about my home situation. Do I live with my parents? People talk about all this stuff. It's like, I want to talk about the war in Iran, as you know, because we covered this together. It's like I'm intensely interested.
Right. And I want to take a break and come back and get into the meat and potatoes now.
It's about the ideas.
But
I agree.
They're mad.
I agree.
I'm not
it is about the
and,
ideas.
and Tucker and all that.
Just cut him off that topic that you wanted to talk about.
And in Ukraine. But the system is definitely mad, and we did get hit by the Israeli bots, you and I and everybody else.
I think he just did that.
Covering it and saying this is crazy, and then that is what's weird. Then after all of that,
I'm telling you,
which
Nick has his own problems.
Boosted what I'm doing, but I just, like you, just cover whatever's interesting and I think the truth.
I mean, well, someone will dig in.
That you are just a bellwether.
It won't work out in the mainstream
of the overall mind of the public.
You can go trending right now.
That's where I'm always at, is where is the public?
Become
and I don't then go where the public is, unless where the public is where I'm already going, which I pretty much got them there in many cases. And so I see someone avant-garde who is having
guard.
success,
Okay.
and I see all the anti-white, anti-Christian racism
It means
that's
like
so intense,
grassroots.
and who's running it, the ADL. I'm not a guy that just hates Jews in general, and the person that
He's
is
French.
a victim and blames them for everything, because there's different groups, different things going
It's
on,
like a
different power
film
blocks.
turn.
But
Yeah.
when you have the ADL trying to pass federal laws to arrest people that criticize even Zionists. I mean, I played the clips last week. I mean, this is tyranny. When you've got them already, their counterparts passing those laws, but B'nai B'rith and all them in
Brand
Europe,
new for
this
everyone.
is the model.
It's kind of crazy.
And so the left, with all its tyranny and its love of Islam and all its censorship, is bad and has been terrible and done more censorship. But now Trump claims he's against censorship, but more and more is bringing in the ADL. I've got clips of it saying they're basically running this angle of censorship that's totally unconstitutional here in the United States. And you've got governors in Texas.
The ADL.
Saying, if your city has a resolution,
I saw Trump saying it.
you will pull all state funds. And if you're a contractor with the state for school lunch program or building highways,
Well, Trump's got to be the good
20-year
guy.
contract, we're
It's just
canceling
the
it.
ADL.
That is 1,000 times beyond McCarthy,
Very
and even
good.
more intense than the left.
Did you search
It's beyond cancel
Roy
culture.
Burr?
It is the social credit score, China, literally here. So that is a big, big problem. So I want to talk about that with you. Where we agree on that, where you think Trump's going, Iran, they're trying to bring that back. And then I disagree
God, some of the show's
overall.
so fucking
I don't
old.
want to
Oh my God.
mischaracterize it. I haven't had time the last day or so
Oh
to
my
watch the
God.
show, but I saw some of the tweets and statements, where you're like, I don't know. Before I thought it'd be good to have National Guard deport the illegals, but God, this could be for Israel to enforce on us. And but then I understand constitutionally what he's doing. That's why these courts have been upholding the guard stuff.
Self-loathing
And I know why
YouTuber
Trump's doing it, because the Democrats are planning to burn the country down. That's in Podesta's own plan. So while we're busy focusing on Trump and we're pure and we're making sure he does it all right, and I get it, I do it too, are we ignoring the Democrats that literally already tried to put you and I and everybody else in prison
A lot
and
of
tried to kill
Vincent
Trump?
James here.
So I want to go to
Crazy.
break. People can follow him on Rumble at Nick J. Fuentes. Also on
Vincent
X.
James is
Follow
a
me at
different
Real All Shows on
name,
X /.com/show. We also have a stream on Rumble as
Nick
well.
Fuentes, but
And actually tune in
probably not in the
because
tags,
I get up
right?
at
Just-
4:35 a.m. So I rarely, because he usually starts late. I do a lot of
He
times.
used to
once
get
my
more views back
younger daughter
there.
goes to bed. I'll sit there sometimes in bed and I'll go, oh, nice intros, nice promos. But I'm like, it's 10 o'clock, it's
Whatever.
10:30. And I get that's how he does the show. And I'm like, all right,
I swear
I'm
I
out.
had more Nick
And then I
videos than
get up
that.
in the morning and get ready, and I'll have it on the background. But I catch a lot of the show. I catch the clips. I mean, I'm a listener.
the search actually
humor,
use transcripts or just the
I've been
title?
listening for years, off and on.
I'm
And
not sure.
I do the same dark humor. I've
Personally.
cut back because they misrepresent it. And he'll make some sick joke, and they go, I'm just joking. They cut that off, and then they can take 8 years of stuff
Maybe
and put a
Nick
string of it
wasn't
together
as,
and misrepresent it. And that's what's going
and
on
I've
now.
watched,
And there's
but
new
maybe
attacks
not
on Nick
as many videos
that I'm seeing that are even nastier that I'm not going to go there. And I predicted to Nick
about
a week
him
ago.
in particular.
I said, I think that'll be the next attack, and that's where that's going. And so, if these people aren't being given talking points, and it's just a piling on, then Nick keeps saying, meet with me, talk to me, have me on. You'll get top ratings. What are you scared of? I mean, you'll get more views in a Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson debate than the Putin. I mean, I guarantee you, if they had that debate next week,
especially
let's say
on
next Thursday here,
Infowars.com.
I guarantee you 100 million views on X, 100 million on YouTube, Rumble. I mean, it'll be why would people not want to give the public what they want? I mean, I'm
Give me
salivating.
the money.
I'm salivating.
I'll
It's drooling.
get ratings.
He said that literally. I'm
And
salivating.
it helps people. I don't do stuff, bite the heads off bats to get attention like Ozzy, though I like some of his music. My point is, I don't. I can do stunts all day and get ratings, but I want ratings tuning in to hardcore.
Get mad at
awakening
me for
information.
cutting this guy
Understand?
off, by the way.
I don't want just ratings. I
For the
want
fans.
ratings on truth, and this is the most
So he's metaphorically biting the head off of that.
currently the hottest debate would be Tucker
Cut
Carlson
the heads
and
of bats
and
off,
Nick
but I'm
Fuentes.
not
So,
Ozzy, and not saying I agree with Ozzy either.
I've talked
And,
to Tucker here and there. He's really busy, so am I. But I'm going to call
still
him
good.
tomorrow.
but they get
He's a
mad at
good
me
guy.
for
Say,
cutting this guy
man, you
off.
got to do this. And if it's not here,
just saying.
wherever, I don't care. I'll be there.
Who cares?
And I'd like to be on a panel, maybe a 4-hour panel
Get
discussion. Nick
famous
Fuentes,
first, then we'll care.
Alex Jones, Tucker Carlson.
Got it.
Give them what they want.
On my way.
My God. And this is where we need to go, not eating ourselves alive. I wouldn't even call it infighting. I would call it a fratricide.
It's unfortunate. I don't suffer from
because
from
that's
the
what that is,
pathology as
killing your
these
own
guys
people.
do. No offense to them,
And so
they're definitely
so that's where it's at. And there's also some fear,
unmade
out
men.
there that
Let's call
what
it
if
that
Nick
way.
is some deep operative or whatever because he's going after Trump but
because I'm like
look,
that,
Trump's
it'll
doing
take
it
a
to
while
himself,
for
so you can't blame Nick
the
or
dummies to
me
catch up.
because I know I'm good. I mean, I know I'm calling the shots.
But he carved out an hour for
Trump
the
blowing his feet
debate,
off
and the
and
debate
blame
started
me
like half an hour ago,
for
right?
Trump, Scott, that's bullshit. Trump's enemies are my
He's on question
me,
number 2, so
I'm
structuring it.
to see. But I will not
Trump's
sell out my
enemies
values
are my
or my
enemies.
integrity for it. And when I go after Trump, it's to get him back on the straight and narrow. I don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Nick's reached that point. We'll debate that because I disagree with him on that after the break. Right now, stay with us. I've been hearing about this for years, and now it's all the rage. And about a year ago, they did a survey of the customers.
Come back from the commercial.
The mortgage, sell
Product skip.
health,
Skip.
ground restrictions, no all health debate, tree and art.
Still selling it.
Already
Come-
happening.
Still
You
selling.
come back from the commercial, and that's all the time we had.
Experience.
You come back next week.
Still selling. Skip. What the? Skip.
Time, DC or New.
By the way, Sydney Sweeney is very beautiful, and she's being abused by dweeby men, small penised dweeby men. That's all I'm saying.
York or LA, we are the outsiders trying to take the country back. And I overall think Nick is a good actor, a good person, a person that means well.
Alex, I can see your cigarette smoke,
he's
by the way.
Hey,
fortunate.
good actor.
And I just want to, everybody out there fighting.
Alex is taking long puffs of cigarettes in between takes, by the way. You can see the smoke on the side of the screen. You can see it, dude. I'm sorry, Alex.
I was actually
By the way-
assuming that he was drinking something in between the camera, not looking at him. But he's smoking.
Well, there's nothing wrong with smoking at all.
Yeah.
Like as far as like character and morality goes, nothing wrong with that at all, personally. But he was smoking.
Oh,
Just watch for it.
and it is emblematic that we're not in DC or New York or LA. We
Smoke
are
right
the
there.
outsiders trying to take the country back. And I overall think Nick is a good actor, a good person, a person that means well.
Background.
I see it.
And
Okay.
26, he's forced to be reckoned with. And I just want to,
And we saw
everybody
him
out there
smoking
fighting
a
tyranny,
cigarette
stay
on air
alive,
before.
and moving the Overton window back to liberty and away from political correctness.
I'm thinking he's taking some swigs of some blue meth.
At least
I think he was
from
smoking
What I've
in
seen, some of the
between
things you said
breaks.
recently, though I haven't done a deep dive on it. And, well, tell us your view on Trump federalizing D.C., talking about Chicago, talking about New York, talking about L.A., National Guard, rapid reaction.
Okay, forgive me, but we are now at the point that I actually discussed in the synopsis of the whole topic. We are here now. I'm ready for it. I said strap in, pause for a very long video. Here's now the actual debate. Here we go.
Back to liberty and away from political correctness.
Alex Jones.
But we do
Nick
have
Fuentes.
something we really disagree with, at least from what I've seen, some of the things you said recently, though I haven't done a deep dive on it. And, well, tell us your view on Trump federalizing D.C., talking about Chicago, talking about New York, talking about L.A., National Guard, rapid reaction force. What do you think Trump's doing? What's your concern?
Well, in principle, I agree with it. In principle, I love it. And I said this on my show last night because
Okay.
Chicago is a dump. New York is a dump. And it's worse. It's violent. It's filthy. It's chaotic and all the rest.
It's
and
not,
under
but
normal
okay.
circumstances, I would have loved this announcement from Trump that he's moving the police in to take over. But the announcement about D.C. and federalizing law enforcement there, it was accompanied by another announcement about a DOD memo where they say they're going to form this new, it's like a quick response task force made up of 600 National Guardsmen on a rotating basis that'll be stationed in Arizona and Alabama. Now, to be fair, this is something that they talked about doing 5 years ago. They talked about doing this in 2020. You got 300 National Guard in Arizona, 300 in Alabama, and that way they could rapidly deploy a federalized like military force into a city in the event of civil unrest. I don't think it's a terrible idea by itself, honestly. And like I said, it's been around for 5 years. But in principle, my concern with this overall is that right now, we clearly have an occupied government. Like, that's just not in dispute. When you look at what Trump has done with these other departments, at Department of Education, they're breaking the backs of Columbia and Harvard and installing anti-Semitism monitors. At State Department, they're revoking citizenship for people that criticize Israel. At all these other departments and agencies, at FEMA, they're saying we're not going to do search and rescue for a hurricane if your municipality was involved in the BDS movement. And so it's like there's clearly like a pattern here, which is that they're finding ways to use these statutes and regulations and things to benefit a foreign country and this particular people. That is symptomatic of influence.
That was happening under Obama and Bush and Clinton and Bush again. Sorry, Bush Daddy. Like, it's been happening, by the way. But I understand Nick is young. He was, I guess, a toddler when these things were happening. I mean, I was young. I was pretty young too, I guess. But you know, I don't count because I don't count. Here we go.
So when they say they're going to deploy the National Guard to do a law enforcement role in Chicago, New York, do I think that means that necessarily they're going to come to New York and arrest everybody that criticized Israel? Not necessarily. At the same time, I can't cheerlead an expansion of the security state when, as such, that state is being used to support the interest of a foreign power. So when I look at it on an axis of like more government and less government, ideologically, I'm a statist. Like in a vacuum, I'm in favor of a bigger government. But when the government is occupied, I have to lean more towards a libertarian the libertarian side of that axis, the libertarian pole. And so that's where I have these mixed feelings about it. I wouldn't necessarily say it's the worst idea, but you do get a little nervous when you see the Palantir being deployed, when you see the National Guard coming out, all this stuff. And at the same time, you see every department is putting out a statement about anti-Semitism. It's like, okay, how long before this is going to be used against Nick Fuentes and Dan Bilzerian and Jake Shields and these types of people? That's always my concern. So I'm wondering, I mean, what do you have concerns about that? Or do you kind of get where I'm coming from? Because on some level, I think we're on the same page that in principle, this is a good thing. But maybe in practice, it might leave something to be desired.
Well, okay. First of all, he complains about Johnny come latelys, right? Like Candace Owens or Tucker Carlson, right? To these topics. But Dan Bilzerian and Jake Shields are kind of new, right? Aren't they? Or no? Am I wrong about that? Maybe I'm wrong about that. I don't think so. I don't know. I don't know, personally. So, okay. Also, the idea of the whole, I guess, Trump and BDS, it's not new. BDS, anti-BDS shit is not new at all. Not even a little bit new. So that's like kind of weird too, I think. But maybe Nick is born yesterday, doesn't know anything, like a fucking thing apparently.
But I don't think that he's referring to it as like a Trump thing. That part, I think, like what I just heard him say was basically blaming Israel for everything. Like in a way that, like, sometimes I'm more used to when I watch politics. You just hear like people blame the opposite party, and that's very common. And I don't hear that same thing from what he just said. And he said it more in like all roads lead to Israel, and that's what he doesn't want. That's what I was hearing.
Yeah, but
so yeah.
Well, if they go to like the 80s, right, or 90s, oh my God, look, pro-Islam everything, right? Like you can actually go to like Aladdin and be like, oh, look at this, pro-Islam, pro-Arab, right? While they're fighting like the Soviets or something, or before 9/11, right? Like it could look a certain way. Thus, it's probably the point is to actually do some other foreign policy thing that actually like benefits devil worshipping motherfuckers, man. Just saying. And which means like his actual inspiration is actually a devil worshiper, ironically enough. Which is like Donald Trump, right? Of America first and make America great again, right? That came from a devil worshiper as far as like what he might consider like today, right now. I'm just saying. So there's moments in time where, as far as foreign policy goes, where they do favor or go against certain people at certain times, straight up. And to just jump on like Israel is kind of crazy, I think. I think it's actually missing the point where it's like, it's whatever means gets the fucking job done is the actual means. And I don't think Nick knows that. But don't worry, if you say that, his fans will protect him and defend him just the way like some of these other people like actually defend Trump. But they won't realize they're doing the same phenomenon. That's where the actual crime is being committed, but they don't fucking know that. They don't know that. And it's kind of sad, but it is what it is. All right, here we go. I'll shut up now. Here we go. Here's more silky smooth Nick Fuentes.
Obviously,
and Jones.
As George Washington said, fire, government is like fire, a dangerous servant, a fearful master.
I'll be right back. Enjoy this.
Clearly, I'm the guy making films, writing books from the Democrats and also Bush, father and junior, were literally trying to train the military and police for gun confiscation, martial law. That was confirmed. So we were really worried about that. But it was the military itself that would leak the information to us and say that was wrong. So these forces aren't being trained for political enforcement or gun confiscation or any of that. We're locking down the Capitol and putting up fences for 6 months, all the rest of it. It's for when the Democrats, under the Podesta plan, said if Trump would have won in 2020, they were going to have blue states secede, blue cities, create civil war. They produced a movie that came out last year, big budget, civil war, showing a Trumpian figure with all the minority groups together with the military and a black sergeant, woman executing a Trumpian figure. That's their dream. They've been planning uprisings. They've been planning this, and now that Trump was able to win, they've re-implemented this plan. So I think, towards your point, but disagreeing with the actual motive, this isn't just for rounding up illegal aliens. This isn't just for basic riots. They know the Democrats are planning some really big stuff, and quite frankly, rapid reaction forces of 500, 600 people are nothing. All governments of any size have these 500. They've been planning uprisings. They've been planning this, and now that Trump was able to win, they've re-implemented this plan.
Civil war.
So I think, towards your point, but disagreeing with the actual motive,
far left Hollywood.
This isn't just for rounding up illegal aliens. This isn't just for basic riots. They know the Democrats are planning some really big stuff, and quite frankly, rapid reaction forces of 500, 600 people are nothing. All governments of any size have these for civil unrest or outside groups trying to trigger coups.
And
you see all these Democrat judges being overridden by appellate courts
not a part of
saying,
that.
oh, Trump's a tyrant. He's not allowed to deport people. It's right in the Constitution. So people said, oh, how do you know he's not a tyrant, a king? Well, I mean, I can read the Constitution. I've had lawyers on about it just to double check.
Actually, here.
And of course, that's all been overridden. You argue, and I think you're right, he could be doing a lot more, and it's anemic, but he was handed a emasculated, castrated enforcement system. So I see Drudge.
Heard he called Drudge the leftist platform or something like that, right? Left media. Here you go.
That is literally run with the Democrats now. Trump building police state, watch and monitor citizens, widespread discontent among National Guard, Pentagon plans reaction force. I don't see it as that, but even if he uses it for a good reason, as a Band-Aid for all the crime and the Soros DAs and all the rest of it, then when somebody else comes in later, it's in place. And then to your point, I mean, I agree with like 30% of what you're, I mean, I see the concern.
30%?
But for the way it's being deployed, I know why Trump's doing it. He asked for 10,000 National Guard for January 6th. He could have overridden the mayor, Bowser.
Okay.
He could have overridden Milley, who threatened to resign. He didn't because they were setting him up. So
Okay.
I don't see it from Trump, that perspective. He's the guy letting nonviolent offenders out of prison and stuff, even more than Democrats. I see it as him trying to warm the military up and get the public ready for the globalists to try to trigger a civil war, which they say they will do. But one headline in Drudge is true in that they are watching the citizens. And I've not defended Palantir. I've explained Microsoft, Google, and of course, Amazon, when you look at government funding, have thousands of % more money from the government currently than Palantir to surveil, to spy. 15 years ago, Alexa, let's stay in your house. Bezos running the CIA servers along with Microsoft. Now, Palantir's coming in, as they said they would, to offer Trump a system to try to watch all of that and give him control, like one ring to rule them all. So I'm not...
So Palantir is coming in to keep an eye on Microsoft, Amazon, and what was the other one? Apple, I guess. And Trump, I guess Trump fell for that, Alex, or is he like using it for the protection of the rest of us, Alex? Now, first of all, that's bullshit. It's not realistic. It really isn't, because we've seen Palantir involved in Israel and what they're doing with Gaza. Now, is there any excuse for that shit at all? Any excuse? That's supposed to be like in favor of humanity or freedom or anti-murder. Is there any room for that? There isn't. Nick has a straight face, like straight look on his face. No idea why or how. But you know what? Let's go through this. Once again, yo, Nick, if Alex is your friend, tell your friend he's full of shit and he's fucking wrong and he's supporting the worst crimes happening on the fucking planet right now. Maybe not the worst. Equal to the worst. Bare minimum, equal to the worst. Please, Nick, tell your friend that. Or are you going to sit up there and pretend that this is, like, serious? And just put on the news face, right? Of like, yeah, okay, yep. Does that work in this scenario? Nick? Fuckboy Nick? Sippy cup Nick? Does this work for you? Yeah, okay. Yeah, you're the freedom fighter. Got it. Get the fuck out of here. Sorry, Nick fans. You got fucking played too. Maybe Nick isn't the most nefarious character ever. Or maybe he's not nefarious at all. Maybe he's like actually this kind of silly or dumb. But it's like either way, if Nick is dumb, you're still getting played. If Nick is full of shit, you're still getting played. Sorry to tell you, but you have to like actually hear that out loud. And now you can't pretend like no one told you. You're welcome. Here we go.
Defending Alex.
Sorry,
Carr,
I'm
very troubling. At EU summits, I helped target and surveil everybody across Europe and Germany and the UK and put them in jail for their right-wing speech. My biggest fear is a Christian nationalist throwing me out of a window. So he's definitely got his hard on for Christians. He's definitely got that classic ADL bent to him. But you see Teal over there backing Trump and other things, and I know his background, obviously, InQtel and Poindexter and all that you've covered lately. Everybody's, well, I'm not taking your thunder away. You've done a great job presenting it.
Teal's hard on.
News. I'm glad we're covering it now.
Okay.
But that's all true. Yeah. My issue is I just see them as a rival group trying to come in and get control, and the idea that they're going to put us under a police state, they're going to put us under a surveillance state, it's already there. I want to dismantle the whole thing. And then my focus is, let's focus on CARP part of the time. Let's also focus on Eric Schmidt of Alphabet. Let's focus on those guys too, so people get the wide-ranging view. But it is true that all of these systems they're bringing in can be turned on the people. And it is true that Palantir has this big enemy list. So why don't you speak to that?
I guess I would just say, in general, when you say the globalists are coming after Trump, I almost don't know who you're talking about anymore, because who attended Trump's inauguration? It was Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk. It was all the big tech and little tech people. I saw a clip from CNN the other day, and a presenter on CNN said Trump is brilliant. He's a mastermind. And what were they talking about? His cover-up of the Epstein files. So it's like CNN and the New York Times, it's like room service journalism for Trump. You know, in the middle of this giant scandal, he's walking on the roof and they're saying, Mr. President, why are you on the roof today? Like, who's even resisting Trump anymore? Silicon Valley and Wall Street are in bed with Trump. The Democrats have no resistance. The law enforcement, little tech, you know, these up-and-comers like OpenAI, Palantir, Anduril, these guys are all behind Trump. So I just kind of look at the whole situation. I survey the whole landscape and I say, I just don't see the resistance. I don't see Trump anymore as a figure that is actually against the globalists. That's a big reason why I turned on him. He's supporting the war in Gaza. He's clearly unwilling to restrain Israel. He's in bed with little tech and big tech in Silicon Valley, and J.D. Vance is the nexus for that. He cut the corporate tax rate and won't deport the illegal laborers on behalf of Wall Street. You know, he's trying to get Jerome Powell to cut the interest rates to charge up the economy. It's like, so I see him basically as part of the system. So when he's bringing these troops out because of the Democrats, it's like, I think in reality, the National Guard's being deployed because there's going to be a second Iran war. And when there is, there's going to be protests. And I think that's the real reason they're being sent out there. No different than how they shut down Colombia, and now they have like an anti-riot security presence over there. They banned pro-Palestine protests on these Ivy League campuses. They're sort of employing the same thing in the major cities. So I guess me, as a former Trump supporter, I was there in 16. As you know, I was there in 20. I was up there right up until roughly 2022. I just don't see him as an opponent of the system. I see him as basically part and parcel of the system at this point.
Well,
you know,
I think that's
what do you think about that? Now, I've had a similar theory, but not in the same way. Like, he's saying, like, okay, let's put the National Guard on the street to deal with protesters when they officially do some Iran war shit, right? Now, I said the same thing, but it was about like the college kids protesting. He kind of added that in too. It's like in the same way, I think, actually. Where I'm like, yo, they're shutting up people now because something crazy is going to happen later on. And I brought up Iran as like one of the examples of something. It's like, okay, that's very interesting. I'm very curious, like the chat or you guys, like, what do you think about that? That's an interesting idea right there. That is actually right down Alex Jones's lane, but I think he's too much of a shill to actually go there. I think he will protect this. But like, what do you think about like Nick's ideas? Anyone?
Yeah, mostly agree. I think he's
well, it's a possibility, right?
Just the whole situation. It's a theme that like we do see over and over, that they'll apply some policy, a policy that they can get enough favor for, whether it's deporting people or, you know, like that one. I'll just use an example that's very much favored by MAGA supporters, right? Like, okay, we get rid of now getting rid of people, you know, because they broke the law, or they're not here legally. That there's one line, but then they use that to completely erode far more like rights, and they just strip it away. So it's like a magician's trick where they just kind of like pull you in one way, but something else is going on. And so with in this case with whether it's putting military out on the streets to parole, like that's crazy on its own. So what? Well, I mean, it's definitely not like a freedom type of thing. Yeah, I'm surprised Nick was saying he would support that if it wasn't the current situation. He doesn't seem opposed
Well,
to that.
well, yeah. Well, he's once again, his background ideas are to me terrible, me personally. But the forefront ideas will gain traction, most likely. And sorry to be the boy that screamed 9/11, but like the rules that happened after 9/11, right? Because of, oh my God, these guys stole our planes, flew them into our buildings, right? Because of that, we have to be very strict about certain things that happen. And when these either, well, it could be like hippy dippy people, college kids, whoever, protesting the Iraq War, they got their fucking teeth kicked in. They did. Why? Because, like, you guys are helping the terrorist, according to Bill O'Reilly or some of these other people out there, right? Even Tucker Carlson, right? Even those guys were doing that, right? So, it's like, if you look at this, like, okay, we're saying these ideas about, in regards to college protests over Israel and Gaza, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then you put the fucking National Guard in the street. Then you have this DEI, culture war. These guys are against our Western values type of shit, right?
Yeah.
Then boom. Let's say something breaks out with Iran or any country in the Middle East. Like, well, Iran's been like kind of stereotypically like a main target, I guess, as far as like border, like social media mainstream foreign policy. Like Iran's been like a thing, right? Dave Smith brings up the fucking what's it called? The clean, what's it called? Clean paper or some shit like that, right? Whatever the fuck it's called, right? The Wesley Clark shit, right? Clean break, right? The Clean Break Act. Look at that, right? That's been like a kind of like social media mainstream idea. Like, well, if war breaks out in Iran, all the pieces are in place to kick the teeth in of people that actually stand against it. It's actually in place as of right now, like blatantly there. Which is what I said like very early on. I actually did say that. I'm like, well, why not shut down things in a certain way now, so that if it like actually ramps up, then we have positions in power to stomp people out and arrest them or keep them off of the news or like all that shit. So, yeah, I think Nick has a fucking point here. I'm very curious. Like, yo, Alex, conspiracy guy, Alex, where you at, man? Where are you at with this? Because Nick's making a fucking point that actually works, I think, in reality.
Yeah.
Granted, I'm sure I'll be thrown away because of his other views. But at the same time, it's like I don't, like, me personally, I don't do that. Like, Nick believes this or that about anything. I don't throw him away because of that. I hear ideas as I hear ideas. And the idea he's saying right here actually fucking makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. And it does tie directly to what's happening in D.C. and potentially New York and Chicago and all that shit. It actually makes sense. What does Alex do with this? And it's like, I think his answer is going to be like, yeah, Alex is full of shit. Again, like for me, it's already known for me personally. But for others, maybe they might realize. I would hope Nick would maybe realize. He's kind of a bot not seeing this from Alex Jones, or maybe he doesn't watch Alex Jones outside of his own interviews. But like, it's pretty obvious with Alex at this point, personally. So I'm very curious. Very, very curious. But go ahead, Jesse. Want to say anything there?
I think Nick's point here is so well, and I remember you also mentioning this on the college campuses, but we just finished watching like Dave Smith and some people like come up with the most absurd things, and Dave was like, "Hey, well, we've been around the block. He said he used a different term, but like we've seen this, for a very long time, so we know, right? Like he was saying it in reference to you can't trust politicians or something,
Yeah.
or campaign promises.
Yeah.
But I was like, but you're missing like all these theories are just like fantasy land. But like in the terms of like you can hypothesize, but when you put it together, the pieces don't fit. This is something what Nick's describing is um it fits for the things that are getting set up, and it's also very much like just if you walk back a few steps, um it's not just a Trump thing. Now,
Yep.
Biden, this is Biden was doing this from the angle. They just duck and weave with the angles, right? So Trump started with deportation things about mobilizing the military. Now he's getting acceptance through the college movement, which is really started with the woke stuff.
Yep.
And then
well,
through
before that, it
immigration.
was BDS. It was in his first term. It was actually about anti-Semitism or questioning of
Okay.
Israel. That's the like more so originator of that. But yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Okay. There's well, but when I see the campus thing, it's like my idea of a university is people explore ideas, they get things wrong, but you learn
Explore
new things.
life, right? They
You
explore
you, you,
life.
you expose yourself to
Yes.
ideas, even wrong ones, but that's where you learn to learn. And so when you lock down on ideas, like how do you get to do that? And and so you have to maneuver with, okay, so whether it's anti-Semitism or hey, they try to deport this guy, so that's an immigration thing, isn't it? There's all these framings that make it sound okay to suppress ideas
Yeah.
for a, a party who's been for the past at least since Trump has been getting suppressed. They've been about free speech, but
It's
like how do you
in
get those
words.
guys to?
Yeah.
Yeah, how do you get these guys to like accept that? And and Biden was doing it different with like anti like what's domestic terrorism, and he gets all these rules in place to make it easy for them to attack basically the citizens.
Yeah.
And Trump did this before in his first term. It was Antifa. Antifa, we have to mobilize the what was it? The National Guard, and
Yeah.
like for Antifa purposes. So if you look
Yeah.
at all these things together, um, there there's so many different reasons that means they're not the real reasons, right? Like it's definitely something that has uh, more of a what is trying to control and be able to take control like through force if necessary on your own population in case they become disruptive. And
Yeah.
that's what's in place, and it's getting, however they maneuver to get that acceptance, that's what um their aim is. And if
Yeah.
we go to war or with Iran or any other situation, they're ready for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think younger people, like at colleges and shit like that, are actually more of the goal to stop than like some random person like on the streets protesting. Like I actually believe that. Like as far as like their movements, or as far as like when you want it, or when you see a government like try to like quell a protest or ideas being said, right? They focus more so on those than college campuses, unless the college campus shit might be too much, if you will. Because like college, it's like college is like almost like a life experiment, right? It's like, oh, you're finding out about getting drunk or being sober, getting high or being sober, having sex, not having sex. Like, there's so many fucking elements for young people like developing in the world, right? Not saying who's good or bad in that scenario. It's up to the individual, my humble opinion. But still, it's like when those guys get active, they get fucking active, and it is a weird march to even shut those guys down, right? I'm very sure that there was college kids back in 2002 or 3 or something like that. Like, yeah, we don't like this, but the actual point of focus from the government was, in a way, outside of them. You know what I'm saying? Like, as far as like mainstream coverage, or whose faces do we kick in? Right? I think it was like something different. But yeah, okay. Going back to the video, Nick has a point though. It's a very strong point about that, and I'm very curious where Alex goes in regards to this to counter this. Good luck, Alex. Make this make sense and make it sound like Trump is a good guy. Here we go.
Valid concern, and I'm not totally disagreeing with you, but
Okay.
just because people go to his inauguration, just because Bill Gates acts friendly, but behind the scenes is fighting Trump, doesn't mean they're on board. These are a bunch of snakes.
Oh,
That
all right.
said, there is a lot of capitulation to Trump because populism is rising all over the world. He's seen as the figurehead. He's having a lot of success. And so I do see that. But if we're going to take the government over, at some point these institutions will be taken over. I'm not endorsing all that's going on. I'm saying it's a paradox. But guys, go to Nick Fuentes' X. He doesn't do a lot of posting there, so it'll be easy to find. I saw the clip.
Next topic.
I actually had it on the list today that I had to go to an emergency court hearing. But it's not all of CNN's doing it, but this particular host, is a big Trump supporter. Most of what he shows is true. But he is sitting there going, it's
Scott
wonderful.
Jennings.
Interest in Epstein has plunged. Trump is a genius. This is amazing. And again, the optics of that are, well, if you're not involved in it, why the hell is it good that interest is plunging?
Alex is full-blown
Nick-
sweating. Okay.
Let's talk about Epstein.
Wait, he
Because-
didn't
Nick.
complete the.
This has been bizarre.
He changed the topic.
Oh, wait. Wait a minute. By the way, I have not seen this before. I'm going to rewind. I kid you not. That little portion right there. Ending with Nick's end sentences of things. Without pausing. Here we go.
Porter. I was there in 16. As you know, I was there in 20. I was up there right up until roughly 2022. I just don't see him as an opponent of the system. I see him as basically part and parcel of the system at this
agree.
point.
Well, I think that's a valid concern, and I'm not totally disagreeing
Alex,
with you.
What do you got?
But just because people go to his inauguration, just because Bill Gates acts friendly, but behind the scenes is fighting Trump, doesn't mean they're on board. These are a bunch of snakes. That said, there is a lot of capitulation to Trump because populism is rising all over the world. He's seen as the figurehead. He's having a lot of success. And so I do see that. But if we're going to take the government over, at some point these institutions will be taken over. I'm not endorsing all that's going on. I'm saying it's a paradox. But guys, go to Nick Fuentes' X. He has a lot of posting there, so it'll be easy to find. I saw the clip.
Okay, go to his X.
I actually had it on the list today that I had to go to an emergency court
Anyways,
hearing.
Epstein.
But it's not all of CNN's doing it, but this particular host, is a big Trump supporter, and most of what he shows is true. But he is sitting there going, it's wonderful. Interest in Epstein has plunged. Trump is a genius. This is amazing. And again, the optics of that are, well, if you're not involved in it, why the hell is it good that
His
interest is
forehead.
plunging? So, Nick,
No comment.
let's talk about Epstein. Because this has been bizarre the last 40 days. And I actually don't see interest in it subsiding.
I didn't know he practiced the keto.
Peaking like it was a few weeks ago. But
Diverted that
this is a
shit.
smoldering fire. What do you think's happening here?
What the fuck? Okay, audience. Anyone who just saw this clip, please, explain that to me where there is no corruption or full of shitness or compromises, or make it make sense, please. I beg you to. I beg you to. Actually, I actually do. I beg you to. Make that make sense, please. God. Here we go.
And I actually don't see interest in it subsiding.
With
I don't
Alex,
think
I'm
it's
saying.
peaking
With
like
Alex.
it was a few weeks ago, but this is a smoldering fire. What do you think's happening here?
Well, I think that when Congress comes back, they're going to be calling more attention to it. It does seem to be the case that the public has largely moved on. And we talked a little bit about this. It's like any news story. You give it a couple weeks, and no matter what it is, people are going to talk about something else. And with the internet, these things move very quickly. But that clip, it's almost like from a movie. It's almost like a parody. You have, and look, the guy is Jewish. You have a Jewish presenter on CNN saying,
Oh my
all-time
God.
low, 89% drop in interest in the Jeffrey Epstein cover-up. Trump
Do you
did
feel
it
bad for
again.
Alex
He's a
or something?
genius. He covered up the Epstein files. And it's like, is this real? Is this like an AI creation? Is this a Gemini creation? The idea that, you know, you would show that to a Trump supporter 7
that's why
years
he
ago,
picked the clip.
8 years ago, it would
It's his
almost be hard
pivot
to
because he
believe
gets
that it's
excited
real,
about
that
it.
that's a real clip. And you think about the way it was in 2016, it was like 9/11 every day. I mean, you remember, you were there, you had him on your show. You're like the veteran of 2016. In 2016, we were being punished every single day. They were apoplectic. It was like Trump
I
getting
existed
elected
too.
was like the Holocaust. It was like
Alex had
they
that
said
clip
the worst
ready
thing that happened to America since
when
9/11
he
or
needed to
Pearl
change the
Harbor.
subject.
And now
What's that?
Alex had that clip ready for when he needed to change the subject, because like if you just change the subject, it's gonna, like, the other person maybe had something to say about it, right? Like, and they want to continue, but
Yeah.
he knows, like, you see Nick light up, like he has a story for this specifically. So he light up. He's ready to talk about this. So
Yeah.
he had this back pocket item where if I need to change it, let me pivot to that.
All right, here we go.
16, we were being punished every single day. They were apoplectic. It was like Trump getting elected was like the Holocaust. It was like they said the worst thing that happened to America since 9/11 or Pearl Harbor. And now it just feels like this cakewalk.
And that's the
media's-
paradox is we've been through so much to support Trump. He's doing a lot of good. And you can say, well, this CNN guy, this is like bad satire. Like you said, when I saw it myself on another feed. I saw it on your feed a couple days ago. And I watched it like 3 times. And I'm like, this isn't even real. Does this guy even understand what he's saying? And this is supposedly a Trump supporter. He's a genius. Look at how his cover-up has worked. And I'm sitting there like I'm almost being involved in a conspiracy. If I was a Trump supporter, which I am overall still, and I went, yeah, great, he's really done that. When he's the one that came out 40 days ago and said, shut up, you're not my supporter, I don't want your support. He didn't, he committed suicide and all this. It was so insulting. And then again, last week, he did it again, saying it's all a big hoax after he said, okay, release the information. I mean, this is just crazy. So what is Trump thinking? Here is one of the most bizarre clips ever.
He's
from
trying
CNN
to
a few days
save
ago.
America.
I would say that this is, from at least a political point of view, quickly turning into a dud of a story. What am I talking about here?
Which is wild.
Which is wild.
This has been for 3 weeks now.
Exactly. Take a look here. Google searches for Epstein down 89% versus just 3 weeks ago, falling through the floor. It is no longer the top term searched alongside Donald Trump's name.
Nobody cares anymore.
And Vladimir Putin, with obviously the meeting
Thank
coming
you,
up later
CNN.
this week.
Now
But
we
at this
believe them,
particular
right?
point, the
Obviously.
American people's interest in this story, it's quickly becoming something of a nothing burger.
So out of sight, out of mind, maybe, is
Yeah.
applying here a little bit. But has it impacted, have you seen numbers that have impacted Trump's popularity, favorability, anything?
No, not really. I mean, take a look here. Let's take a look at the overall numbers.
We
Trump's
love
approval rating
Trump.
in July of 2025, it was 45%. It's still well within that margin of error here at 44%. And you compare that to where he was in his first term at this point. He was at 37%. So he's 7 points higher, very much in a different political universe now, significantly higher in terms of his overall approval rating than he was at this point in his first term. And more than that, among Republicans, his approval rating is near a record high, hovering right at about that 90% mark. So no, he hasn't lost any of that base. And when it comes to that center of the electorate, he's basically holding on there. And his overall approval rating, 44%, is pretty goddamn darn good for him, considering where he was at this point in term number one.
What do you
Okay. I do understand, like, adopt or accepting information that, like, okay, I don't care about the source. It just sounds believable to me. Okay, fair enough. I'm with that. Where is Alex going with this? Because Alex, for me, is not just on trial. He has 200 witnesses that have said, like, this guy committed murder right here. We got him right here. We got him. That's where I'm at with Alex. He's not anywhere near, like, skin of his teeth. He's, like, overwhelmingly, like, full of shit to me. So, Alex, where are you going? Also, this blonde CNN chick could definitely body slam me. Her outfit's ballin'. She looks pretty good. I like it. Anyways, here we go.
think is behind it? Why there hasn't been more movement?
Yeah, why hasn't there been more movement?
Because
I think this
people
is pretty simple.
are
Take a look at the
stupid.
nation's top issue
That's
is the
why.
Epstein case. This is the number of respondents. This isn't the percentage of respondents. This is the number of respondents. In our last CNN poll, look at this. 0 respondents said that the Epstein case was the top issue. How about among independents? 0 independents said that. And among Republicans, and therefore overall, just a single one. So yes, there used to be a lot of interest in this story, but the bottom line is that even amongst those who had
No one
high interest in this
now.
story, it
One
wasn't
one
something
person
that they
cares.
thought was all that important. And as I said at the beginning, the interest in this story has
Top
fallen
issue.
off.
Maybe they put
Which
killing
also,
people
when you look
at
at
the.
this and you compare
on
it
the
to
list.
just the attention that Capitol Hill was giving it, Donald Trump
just one
supporters were
person.
giving it, congressional committees were giving it, it is incongruous with
I
the
would
ranking.
just say this.
Politics, but
Donald Trump
also
has some of the best political instincts of any
themselves, I
politician
think.
I've seen. And on this particular issue, you see
What were the
full
options
well
on
and
that
clear because
list?
he has been saying, you know what, this is not an issue. And
No
it turns
comment.
out that a lot of the American public actually seem to agree with him.
If you dream
Wow,
it,
so Bill Clinton and Bill Gates, the head of Harvard, and all them in the middle with those kids and the prince over in the UK, just this is great instincts. Let's just totally do a 180 and just shove about it. Then you ask what's coming next, and so
like
I've seen
feeding
you
your
critical
kids,
Elon. He's
health
done a great
care,
job on
put
that.
all these things on the list.
Free speech
Oh yeah,
overall. But
Epstein
I
was
talked to
not
people that were in the meetings.
Oh my God.
That was a real split. And he came out before all this happened 4 months ago, and said this Epstein thing's going to be a big deal. It's going to be covered up. And then I was told by people in the White House, yeah, it's because the CIA and Mossad are involved. They asked Trump to national security. But then why would he come out and Streisand affect all of this, Nick? Because this is wishful thinking. Anything big peaks and then subsides and then comes back as an even bigger wave. And it's not a prediction. It's a guarantee. The Republicans have already said, yeah, we want everything subpoenaed, including from the Democrats and the DOJ. So there's CNN hoping nothing to see here, like the Naked Gun, nothing to see here. That's not going to happen, Nick.
I love that guy's accent. I love the presenter's accent. It's very interesting. He's like celebrating. He's like, look, no one cares about Epstein with this like interesting little accent there.
Kinda like, yo,
As
Nick.
far as
Well,
the
let's say this.
Look at
Elon,
this guy.
I've seen the guy a lot. He's not normally that excited. He looks like he's having an orgasm here.
Yo, Nick.
Like, I'm surprised he didn't
Look at,
spike a football.
he was,
Alex,
he was
Nick.
spiking a
What do you
dreidel, I
think?
think, so something like that. Spiking
Oh,
something-
fuck.
That's a little on the nose. But what's interesting about the
That joke did not land for Alex. Look at his face, dude. Looks like they spiked the dreidel. It's like, yo, Nick, are you trying to prove that you're different than full of shit Alex Jones by going after, I guess, Jewish stuff? Is that your sense of things? That's not good enough because I think at the core of it, at the very least, I think regular people care about corruption more than political, religious, social affiliations, even ethnically affiliations. I think people care more about, like, okay, who are doing bad, like who are the individuals doing bad things. I think that takes the cake, man. But okay, maybe I was reading that wrong. Sorry. I'll rewind. Let it play. Here we go.
He's not normally that excited. He looks like he's having an orgasm here. He's like, I'm surprised he didn't spike a football.
He was spiking a dreidel, I think, so something like that. Spiking something that's a little on the nose. But what's interesting about the Elon connection, which is super important, and you brought this up because you're super perceptive on this stuff. Everybody forgets that Elon Musk brought this up back in June and said that Trump is not going to release the Epstein files because he's in them. And I wasn't the only one. You did, and I also said, I wasn't the only one that noticed that he also had a black eye when he said that. He's in the Oval Office for the last time with a giant black eye, which Trump even made a mention of. Trump said on Twitter, or he said it, I think, to the press, he said, I offered him makeup. He turned it down because he wanted everybody to see his black eye. So they're drawing attention to this. This was the last meeting. Now, shortly after the last meeting, as you said, it was a real split. And Elon puts out this tweet. It's like a nuclear bomb. Trump is in the files. What happens a week later? Israel starts a war with Iran. The war goes on for 2 weeks. The war ends. Netanyahu comes to the White House to celebrate on July 7th, 7/7. The day before, the DOJ pushes the memo burying the Epstein files. And so it's like this weird bookend. Now, there's some new information on this. There's this weird bookend where you have the Epstein scandal starts a week before the war. Or I suppose, they kind of spike this with Elon Musk's comment before the war. And then they initiate this next round of it when the DOJ buries it with the memo, when Netanyahu comes to the White House to finish the whole thing with their celebration about the Iran war. There was a piece in the Times of Israel last week where a rabbi in Israel said, and this is an unsubstantiated claim, but it is interesting. It was published in Israeli media. They said that the Israelis, of course, were not happy with Trump because Trump bombed Iran just once. He bombed Fordo, he bombed Natanz and Isfahan, and he did not destroy the stockpile of enriched uranium. Now, the Israelis expected that they could draw the United States in to hit Iran many times, to not just destroy one or some of the facilities and partially damage others, but that they would attack Iran's energy infrastructure, their conventional assets like their missile launch platforms, their government buildings, things like that. Israel was not happy that the United States did this limited strike and then called off the whole war. Restrained Israel.
Think that's speculation. I knew that from the White House insiders. Israel wanted full regime change. I mean, they called for it.
Absolutely. It was in Foreign Policy magazine just yesterday.
Oh, really?
And they were calling for it the whole time. And the point is, they were disappointed that Trump didn't deliver. They were mad that Trump did not do it. Now, there was this rabbi from the Times of Israel who said the reason the Epstein scandal happened was a punishment against Trump for not taking it all the way. And you almost wonder, because of course, the Epstein scandal, it does have a lot to do with Israel. Pam Bondi, who is the Attorney General, she is a super Zionist. That is something that was claimed without any evidence, but you almost wonder, is this being deployed as like a political football? Is this being deployed in a certain way to hurt the Trump administration? Because like you said, you have called a lot of attention to the strangeness of how it's being handled, how the White House has kind of been fumbling this, how it's almost like they're trying to make it worse for themselves. And so you wonder if there's some connection going on, because for me, all eyes are always on Iran. They want us to fight this war, a war that they know that we do not want to fight. Like, there's no public support for a protracted Middle Eastern conflict. Donald Trump himself has no appetite for such a war. And so it's like, how do you get America, with all these timelines in mind, the snapback sanctions, the midterms, Iran rearming themselves, the breakout timeline for a nuclear bomb, is like, how do you get America into a war quickly? And it happens coincidentally with this Epstein scandal. I can't shake the feeling that they're related in some way. Now, maybe that's crazy, but I feel like there's something to do with that. And then to see it in the Times of Israel reported over there, it was just a little bit too on the nose. It was a little freaky.
I mean, obviously, Israel wants us to go to war with Iran. This was just phase one. Where do you see that going? And why do you, gut level, you make the joke, I say that, but it's true, think Trump did the perfect Streisand effect? He can't be that stupid. Why did he act like that?
I think he just made a mistake. I think
He
if
can't be that
anybody
stupid.
fumbled it, it was the
Sounds
Department
just
of
like
Justice.
to Dave
I think that
Smith
Trump, he hates it.
talk we just heard.
Well, I want to hear this.
Exact same.
He made a mistake. Let's hear it.
True. Think Trump did the perfect Streisand effect. He can't be that stupid. Why did he act like that?
I think he just made a mistake. I think if anybody fumbled it, it was the Department of Justice. I think that Trump, he hates it. You could tell. He's angry. Like, you could see it in his face. When Elon Musk put out that tweet, I think it was back in June or May, when Trump was asked about it at a luncheon about an hour later, you could read it. I mean, this guy does not have a poker face. He was livid. He was seething. And I think he still is. Every time it's brought up, like, he cannot handle this. So I don't think it's necessarily Trump that is Streisand affecting this. I think it might be the administration. It might be elements inside the government. I think that somebody spiked it and now they don't know how to deal with it. Or maybe Trump knows that there's something in there that's going to be problematic for him in some way. Obviously, there is, because he ordered the FBI to look through the files. They told him that they found his name all over the files. We don't know what's in them. So it's hard to say exactly why, the psychology of Trump, what's happening inside of his head. I think that's organic. I think that's just his real reaction. I think gut level, the big play is they want to go back into Iran. This has been reported widely. The clouds are gathering all over again. The snapback sanction deadline is at the end of August. I think Israel is going to go back into Iran. And I think they expect that the United States is going to come in heavy, and it's going to be a major war. That's kind of where I see this going, and maybe getting rid of the Epstein.
I totally agree with you, Nick. So I got you on here to debate you on the police state martial law thing, but then I actually heard what you had to say. I overall agree with you, but that's all my intel. And I predicted this. I said they're going to say Melania it was a hooker for Epstein, which they already recycled 8 years ago, and they're going to put in the Jane Does that were fake. Trump got pissed because he'd already made a deal with the CIA and Mossad to just kind of shelve it. They still came back and stung him in the ass with it. He throws a fit about it because that's the deal he's got, which I'm not agreeing with that deal. People go, Jones agrees with Trump making that deal. Look, I've been read in on it, okay? Let's just say people close to the president.
I'll let Alex.
There's just so many public officials, so much big stuff. It would bring down the stock market, he believes. I'm not saying that's the right way to go. I said they're going to stab me in the back. Then it turns out they put his wife in there. Now they admit it isn't true. Now she's going to sue him for $1 billion. Hunter Biden. You can see this. And again, folks, Trump's 79. He's very smart in many ways, has some good instincts, but he's super busy 20 hours a day. He just handles stuff. I'm telling you. Serafin's a big FBI whistleblower. He gets proven right all the time. Most 90% of the time.
Big.
He said 4 or 5 months ago they were raiding the FBI and New York for not giving over the documents. The feds were raiding the feds. He said, you're not getting it, and it's a cover-up. And he said, and now they got the PR people of the same people that were there before. Actually. They're going to tell the DOJ what to do. They just go to press conference and PR function and dinner after dinner. They're just titular heads. Bongino, Patel, Bondi, literally just Fox News host. And they're setting them up with stuff, with this Epstein file, saying it's all there, and it's all going to be BS on Trump. He literally called it all, and they just took that giant trap. And so people, the Q people, God love them. I know JFK Jr., he's really the president. Hillary's in Gitmo. They're having a big problem now, but they just get more.
Yeah, Alex. What CNN did to you, Alex, you're going to do to the fucking Q movement. Meanwhile, you were borderline Q movement motherfucker, bro. Straight up. I'm done with this, by the way. I'm done with this. I'm sorry. You're an idiot if you fall for any of this bullshit. I'm sorry, guys. Sorry to remind you of that. I know it doesn't feel good. I know that. I've been dumb before. Don't worry. I've had my time where I got shit on for being fooled by something or tricked by something. I've had my time. It is now your time. Wake the fuck up. If it's Alex Jones's little 8,000 D chest at this point, right? It should be okay, you've gone too far, Trump. You're full of shit. Leave office. And guess what? You do the same thing with Nick Fuentes. Ask him actual questions about life, not about like politics or sociology, but like actually like about life. Hey man, why am I here? What am I doing here? What happens when I die? Yeah, ask him those questions and find out the answers. Good luck. But that's where we're at. I accept it. You know, I expect us to take a very long time before anyone puts their actual foot down and says like, you know what? I'm done with bullshit. If I don't understand it or haven't experienced that, foot down on the fucking ground. I'm done with it. But that will take a while. So good luck to all of you for dealing with that. There's your video. Please subscribe if you feel like. Comment, agree, disagree. Tell me what you think about the clips we watched. This is kind of like a shit show, I think. There's no actual topic approached. And I think that's what Alex wanted, which was nothing conversation. Maybe Nick was willing to like dish out things, but Alex made sure that it never got there, in my personal opinion. But you tell me in the comment section. Please check out the description box for links to charities or Discord or the source video if you're too stupid to realize that people source their videos. Please check out the description box for that. And with all that said, please give this video a super duper gigantic thumbs down, you little pussies. Here we go.